And we're back. Back. Hey guys.
Ka-chow. Flat Out Fever Podcast.
Listen to all
Episode
this energy.
59.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lots of energy. Good vibes. Feel the flow.
All of them.
Feel the rhythm.
We're here.
Talk about F1 and other matters.
Yeah.
Other pressing matters
Yeah.
that are happening right now. Come on. Let's get to it. Actually, before we do that,
We have all sorts of things to talk about.
yeah, announcements first. This weekend is the Spanish Grand Prix, and as always, this year, if you're within earshot of Toronto,
416-905-289.
even 519
705.
519 is welcome.
519.
705. You want to come down. All these area codes.
647.
And
Like
the
six of them.
I'm the Buffalo people. How cool would it be if somebody
Buffalonians?
Yeah, yo, Buffalo, come here. We are showing
Michigonians.
if every time there's a race this year, we are going to be showing it at Betty's. This weekend won't be live though, because the race happens too early for bars here. So we will be showing it at 3 o'clock. We're going to start with a pre-show. 4 o'clock, we will start. We will show the race. So please come. It's Betty's on King. If you look that up on Google, you'll find it, or flatofever.com/f1-at-Betty's.
Is it
And you'll get
240
the
King East, 250 King East,
240.
240
King East.
Always lots of fun.
Yeah, lots of people show up. Our crew is growing, and it's a good group of people.
This is how to give back to the community.
Yeah. We're doing things. We're doing good things here. All right. So now that that's out of the way, we have some serious F1 news have happened since the last episode.
Is this breaking news?
We're not breaking nothing.
Oh man. I want to break something.
Yeah.
There's a race scheduled for this weekend.
No, that too. That is
Breaking
coming.
news. What was breaking?
Well, no, it wasn't. No, we didn't break anything. But the Verstappen thing. Come on.
Okay. We're gonna start with this.
Yeah, I think I think the people that are tuning in and listening to us, for
You probably
the
already
Spanish
know
Grand
about
Prix.
the race is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You've seen
Everybody
the
knows
track.
about this.
It's super old.
Yeah, we've seen it earlier during testing.
Tested there.
Let's go to this Verstappen thing. Come on.
It's gotta hurt for
Man, can
Kvyat
you
fans.
imagine?
Now, was this okay? So, if people don't
Russian-
know, this is sort of just after the two big hits, Kvyat sort of done. Now,
Yeah.
was this?
The Russian
this seems
torpedo.
like a response to that. To me, I don't know very much about the history between Red Bull, Toro Rosso, and Ferrari. You know, these sort of.
It seems like that, but it seems like it's a lot deeper than it seems like.
Jensen
might
Button posted on Twitter, like, shortly after
Yeah.
it happened, something like, "Come on, the guys." Like, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was like, "Come on, the guy screws up one race, and you're already like, fucking."
You're like
in the boot.
Yeah, get rid of him.
Yeah.
But then a second time.
See, okay,
Well-
let's start with some quotes because Ted Kravitz tweeted May 5th.
And he doesn't
If he
tweet
doesn't-
often, so this is big.
He doesn't tweet too often, that's right. Helmut Marko's been looking for a chance to get rid of Max Verstappen in the senior team. Kvyat gave him 2 reasons. Plus, it strengthens RB's hand in the bidding war, all in caps, the bidding war.
Oh wow.
So the thing is, Helmut Marko in the preseason, in an interview with the F1 official site, said, in the context of talking about these two dudes,
Yeah.
the one who doesn't deliver is going. The one who doesn't deliver goes.
right.
Word for word. That's what he said. So I would believe what Ted has to say. He keeps tight notes. Doesn't let his pages blow away too often.
Tries not to.
He tries not to.
Here's the thing, and a lot of motorsport people have been saying, shame for Kvyat, or like how like this is ridiculous, like Max Verstappen, like what's going on here, but this motorsport journalist extraordinaire Mark Hughes, actually from Motorsport magazine, one of the oldest motorsport publications out there, definitely one of the most respected. he wrote a piece on what's going on behind it, and the different motivations, and how this was basically a long time coming. Now, and
sorry, let me correct quickly,
Sure.
because I think Marco, I made a mistake there. He was talking about the two Dannys,
to Danny's, yeah.
right? But there, I think if you're paying attention, there was a hint of
Which Danny was which?
the Russian Danny was going to,
And
he
not
was
you,
going to be
Danny.
going. No,
Because
not me.
I get confused. I gotta watch over 3 Dannys now.
Yeah.
There's a Danny, there's Daniel, and there's Daniel.
Dan Ill.
And you shorten that as DANY.
Oh, okay.
It's it's all confusing. Super Russian.
Anyway, but
to
yes.
interrupt.
So this goes beyond that, and one of the things that's happening in behind the scenes, in the politicking and manipulating world of F1 politics, is that Jos Verstappen, he knew, this is Verstappen's dad, Max Verstappen's dad, and for all of us,
18-year-old.
yeah, 18-year-old Max Verstappen, his dad, Jos Verstappen, he was an F1 driver at one point.
Right.
And whereas he wasn't a championship winning driver, he was a driver that was known for his temperament. He was, upper midfield, within race winning possessions in a few races.
Right.
You know what I mean? He made some noise in his years in F1. He wasn't an incompetent driver.
Right.
But he wasn't a star.
Right. Okay.
But what he excelled at was apparently the workings of F1. He got to F1 and he got to realize very quickly who are the movers and shakers, and how do you get shit done in F1?
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
So he brought all of that knowledge now back to F1 as basically his son's manager.
Right. Okay.
He's the one had been pushing for his son's career, and actually
Foreshadowing, don't forget who Hamilton's manager was.
right.
At the
Used to
start
be
of his
father.
season.
yeah.
And he also had a bit of a temper.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just a foreshadowing. Just look out for the future for when he fires his dad, Verstappen.
But Verstappen's dad, even back when he was in his F1 days, he was known for being a loud fighter, running his mouth almost, but
Right.
he wouldn't shy
Great
away.
father material.
He wouldn't shy away from a fist fight. This is the kind
okay.
of
Okay,
guy
cool.
that Jos Verstappen.
Back in the days when it was a little cooler to do that.
So
Or
Jos-
accept it anyways.
had been grooming his son to be an F1 driver from very, very early on. And he had been basically giving his son a psychological beating as well as a physical beating to actually be and push himself and be.
Right. If you want to be the best, you gotta really.
He you know what, and this is what you can say about some people is that you may not be the best yourself, but it doesn't take being the best to know what it takes to be the best.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
And
okay.
you can have enough perception to say you know what, I can't take that corner fast enough. I can't physically break that late, but I know that you need to break super late there to be able to
be able to do it.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So he coached his son in that way, and he knew he obviously knew that his son has natural talent. So while his son was
gave it to him.
impressing, well, yeah, yeah,
Just for anyone, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Sky did a little feature. You can probably find it on YouTube of Jos and Max at their house.
Yes.
In their garage, and you get a taste in that. It's like a 3-4 minute clip of how Jos was sort of coaching him. That they have they've saved all his go-karts through their careers and whatever. But you get a sense you remember that? The sort of the relationship they have
between the two of them. Yeah, it's
very
really
serious.
That is a really interesting. It's
you can tell they're father and son, but it's I don't talk to my dad. My dad never talked to me like that.
Don't talk to
kind
me
of
like that.
he's his boss or something.
yeah.
A little bit.
Jos the boss. That's they used to call him that.
Yes,
Wow.
the
Jos
boss.
Verstappen,
Really?
Jos the boss. Yeah.
Wow.
So, fast forward to actually, in between,
Kvyat's dad was not a Formula One driver.
Okay.
he's just a Russian rich guy. Anyway, but before F1,
Where's a lot of kappa?
before F1, Verstappen, Max Verstappen, he had been like wowing people on the track with his exploits in Formula 3, in European Formula 3, and before that in karting and all that. And like it was clear that his son had talent.
Right.
Talent that Jos, with his training, definitely managed to extract the most of it. So while his son was letting his driving do the talking on the track, he was always trying to manipulate and always push more, always tender. And because he had contacts in F1 before, he knew who to talk to. He knew he knew like, hey, look at what my son is doing. Like it's not bullshit. This is my son is actually doing this. Da, 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 da.
Don't forget he was the 17-year-old,
right?
Yeah,
formerly known as.
and that's key to all this. He was fast tracked to F1, and this hadn't happened before. Or not too often that a driver from European Formula 3 jumped straight to F1. That was big news when that happened.
Right.
But it did so because of Jos's like
persistence,
hard and persistent bargaining. He was the way that Jos Verstappen apparently deals and has dealt with his son's career was from the beginning to all the F1 driver academies that were kind of scoping him out. He was
Super
like
political.
He was basically like, listen, my son is gonna go, like, we're gonna have, like, if you have the minuscule interest in him, you have to approach us with a plan for him to go to F1. It's not gonna be you're gonna keep him in the driver development program to see if it goes anywhere. No,
right.
It's gonna be you come to me about my son with a plan of how he's gonna get to F1 and
we'll talk.
And we'll talk.
Right.
And his dad, after his career or during it, whatever, he's studying the law a little bit, contract law for sure. He seems like a smart guy.
Yeah.
And for those that have really been paying attention, related to that Helmut Marko quote from Red Bull. So Max came in on Toro Rosso, which everyone knows is the Red Bull feeder team.
Yeah.
His contract stipulated from the first year, which from what you just said, his dad negotiated a clause that said by his third year in Formula One, his third year racing in Grand Prix, that he had to be racing for Red Bull Racing, the RBR parent team.
Not
Otherwise, if he was not in his third year racing for Red Bull,
breach of contract, he can go anywhere else.
he would be let go as a free agent. That was a clause. So
Shit.
on his third year, if they were serious about him, they're gonna sign him. They wouldn't. If why not? Why by their third year? If you're not gonna put him up to your senior team, you're not gonna.
Yeah.
So then there's been sort of some whispers. I don't know. I guess we talked about it a little bit, but Mercedes and Ferrari
both of
have
them
been looking at this kid.
Really?
They want this
Of course.
kid. Everybody wants.
Wouldn't you?
I get. Well, I
Have
mean,
you seen what he's been doing, right?
obviously he's sort of proven himself. He can handle a car. He can handle a Formula One car really well. And if you give him the opportunity of like Mercedes or a Ferrari, it's like holy smokes.
It goes to what Peter Windsor has been saying since he saw Max Verstappen come into F1. Verstappen is one of those drivers that if you look at the onboards, if you pay attention on the way that he attacks some corners, you can see that it's very clear that his driving style is of the smooth kind, the same kind of driving that Hamilton has, that the greats have. Alonso's kind of weird because Alonso can do both very successfully. Wow. He can be corrective. Like, I guess the other major driving style is like being corrective, like
You're fighting the car.
Yeah,
you push it as hard as you push it past the limit all the time.
Yeah.
You're always pulling it back.
Right.
The smooth style, you're trying to get as close to the limit and not going over. You're trying to get as close as you can and never going over.
It's
the fighting style, you go just over and you're always pulling it. You're just pulling it back. You're just pulling it back, and both ways are just above and below. Like, nobody's perfect. You're just above and below. It's just slight different style.
Yeah. But with a guy that has, and this is maybe the way that the coaches of F1 and the people that are in the decision making positions when it comes to like bringing in new drivers, this is a kind of driving style that they admire and they like, when somebody can be smooth and fast, because you can be smooth and slow all day. That's Jensen Button does that perfectly well. But
the overly careful Sunday drive type of just bring the car home.
Yeah,
that's what Brundle always calls it. We went for a Sunday drive.
Yeah,
he brought the car home, but whatever. That's kind of what Brundle.
To be fair, he is in a McLaren.
Well, yeah, but Jensen hasn't really done much. I mean, sorry, Jensen fans, but
who was he with before?
Before McLaren,
Yeah.
he actually has been in McLaren for a long
McLaren
time.
for a long time.
Like,
Really?
Since like 09 when he won his championship, he was driving for Braun, the team that eventually turned into Mercedes. But then he had to move out of that because that was no longer a team, whatever, etc., etc.
Right. Okay.
Either way, a smooth driver like that can drive really fast smoothly with a few imperfections, you can work on the imperfections. You can coach him, coach the shit out of, having him avoid bad habits. But if he's had the foundation of that smooth driving, and this is the genius that people saw in Lewis Hamilton, for example. This is the genius that back in the day got Senna where he was. It's just the smooth drivers that can like push their smooth driving to the limit. If they have some bad habits, you can work on that, and you can make great drivers even better starting from that. Whereas that perhaps is more difficult to do with the really, really corrective drivers. Right.
Kvyat.
Yeah.
Kvyat is like the really, really corrective, like fuck you up and then say it wasn't even my fault type of corrective.
And you know who else is? And this was the thing, because before you had a situation at Red Bull where you had a smooth driver in Danny Ricciardo, Danny Rick, and a corrective driver with Kvyat, and this is something that also Peter Windsor pointed that. And in Toro Rosso, you had a smooth driver in Max Verstappen and a corrective driver in Carlos Sainz. Now, what's gonna be very interesting is that you're gonna have two drivers in each team that have a similar style of driving. So it's gonna be the violent like corrective driving of Sainz versus Kvyat, and the smooth driving styles of Danny Ricciardo versus Max Verstappen.
And you don't have two Dannys anymore.
That was just really confusing.
You gotta spread us out.
Yeah,
To maximize.
You know what else? Also, I think that this was a long time coming. This swap. What's Danny Ricciardo's number? He drives 3.
3. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And
Verstappen.
I know Verstappen's number is 33.
33.
Oh,
so
crazy.
Now Red Bull is 333. Illuminati confirmed.
Illuminati. 33. Yeah.
So I follow this is to go back to the Verstappen and his dad sort of relationship. There was an article that came out throughout this gaming website, and it talked about hand-eye coordination and how quickly you can react to things.
Yeah.
And apparently, it's really about genetics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was something like these fast twitch fibers. Like it's genetic more so than you can't really like teach it when you're like in your 20s or something like that. So if you learn it like when you're very young, obviously you can be quite quick. But it's also this thing it's genetic.
Probably hunting lineage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something
Something to that effect. And then I remember seeing this post on Alonso's Instagram, and I wanted to show it because I thought it was super duper interesting.
Check it out.
He's been doing some reaction training, right?
Yeah. Check this out, guys. We can post this, right? Yeah. This is
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Yeah, Instagram shit. It's fine.
I thought this was. I saw
YouTuber
this,
assholes.
and I wanted to do this. Look at this. Fantastic. It's Alonso with a set of lights. People listening at home, and he's just clicking them every time.
Yeah, he's got about 8 or 10 lights in front of him, and he's just touching them as fast as he can, reaching his hands out.
So it's not surprising that Verstappen's dad was a decent driver, at least.
Right.
That gets passed down, and if you understand that, if you understand that in your child, you can raise him, and you can really exploit that out of him. It's like no. Oh, I see what you're like.
Right.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is super cool.
So as
Also, look how fucking jacked Alonso
He
is.
wasn't
Yeah, he
this
is.
jacked before. He's
Oh, no?
definitely been training.
Yeah.
these guys have to keep under a certain weight, but don't forget he's like 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah, right.
He's a short dude. These guys are all short, so he can be. He's not like a 200-pound dude.
Yeah. Right.
He's still like 150, 60 probably.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I don't know. There's a lot more news behind this because really it seems like even though Kvyat got a demotion, both drivers are kind of almost where they should be. So let's start with Max. Let's start with the better of the two.
Okay. Yes.
Not that the Kvyat is bad or that his news is worse, but
Here's the thing though that I believe from the beginning. Remember the circumstances that put Kvyat in the Red Bull seat. It was Vettel leaving. It was so.
It was kind of like, this is our best option if this guy's leaving.
No, it was like, this is a knee-jerk reaction because we have nobody else. Verstappen was still way, way, way far down the ranks. Like the contracts hadn't been signed with him to even be part of the junior academy.
the Vettel thing, people remember, was kind of almost like emotional with him and Horner and Newey.
And it was kind of sudden. It was almost last minute too.
Just kind of let them know, like, you know what, I'm going to be leaving. Sorry, guys. Like it's like going off to school from your family or something. Like,
Yeah.
like, nobody wants to leave. They work together forever. Like,
Yeah, sure.
he was brought up his career that way.
He did his 4 championships with them, etc., etc.
Maybe Red Bull's thinking they don't want to go through those emotions again.
Well, no, it's just it was weird, and a lot of people did question it. And I remember thinking when that swap happened, it's not that I was because it was Kvyat and Jean-Eric Verne. Remember, in the Toro Rosso, it's not like I thought like, oh, Jean-Eric Verne is a much better driver. Like Kvyat doesn't really deserve the Red Bull seat. It's that I thought that they were both not good enough. I thought that both Kvyat and Jean-Eric Verne were not doing that great. They hadn't been doing that great. Kvyat maybe had the edge a little bit, but those two were not championship winning material. I never thought so.
Right.
I thought that, in the circumstances that Red Bull were at, maybe Kvyat would have been the more solid choice, the more stable choice at the time. But right now, this switch of having him back to Red Bull, to Toro Rosso and moving Verstappen in, it is a team that is, I think it is, now the Red Bull team is a little stronger for that.
Right.
And the Toro Rosso maybe too, because a lot of people are saying that there was a lot of inter-team tension in Toro Rosso before, and
especially between Kvyat and what the fuck?
You mean Verstappen and Sainz?
Sorry, with Verstappen and Sainz.
Yeah.
Yeah, he I don't remember, like, well, in Australia they were yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And even Verstappen was even yelling at his own team. About their strategy. I think there was agreement about both situations, really.
Just a quick sort of overview between the relationship between Red Bull and Toro Rosso. Now, does it have that sort of feel that Toro Rosso is like the B team?
Oh, yeah.
It
always has. Yeah.
Always has been.
It's not even a feel. It definitely is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
That is their B feeder team. They bring their drivers up that way.
Okay.
That's why I guess they were able to manage that clause in the contract.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting part. You always want. I don't have any children, obviously, but you always there's always that saying, you want your kids to do better than you.
Right.
Jos Verstappen lasted 8 seasons in F1 under the old point. I didn't have time to convert this, but if somebody has the time, take a few seconds and put a comment. Jos Verstappen under the old point system managed 17 in his career. Max Verstappen under the new point system, under 2 years of scoring points, was able to pull in 62 so far. Right? So.
Oh, interesting.
And as well, so this is another, and I wouldn't even call it a conspiracy because of the way you introed that. He's been managing his son's career. Jos has been managing Max's career, helping him through, promoting his son, helping him with his contracts.
Yeah.
In 1998, let me read you an article here. It's one paragraph. This article was printed in 1998. Jan Magnussen's 1998 season. Don't forget, Jan Magnussen was K-Mag's father.
Well,
his dad
still is.
Oh, he still is his father. Well, he was also an F1 driver father. Jan Magnussen's 1998 season, this article is from 1998, came to an early end with the announcement that Jos Verstappen would take his place with the Stewart team from the French GP onwards.
There was a mid-season replacement.
This is a mid-season replacement. Verstappen has been testing with a Milton Keynes-based outfit in France this weekend, and despite finishing at the bottom of the timesheets on Wednesday during practice, was drafted to the team with immediate effect. Magnussen, K-Mag's dad, who has just retained his seat after a lackluster 1997 campaign, didn't do too well, failed to match up to the erstwhile partner Rubens Barrichello, who was his teammate in 1998 at the 7 races so far. So on the 8th race of the season of 1998, the French Grand Prix, sorry, that was my commentary. Although he notched up his first points of the year in Canada 2 weeks ago, Jan Magnussen must now wait to see if he can break back into the F1 arena.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Last paragraph. Fellow struggler Ricardo Rosset still in possession of his seat at Tyrrell despite the team planning to test the Danish driver Tom Christensen in France this week. It's another possible place. But anyway, so now the Stewart Racing team was powered by Ford in 1998 until 2000 when Ford decided to just buy out Stewart and take over the team completely, at which time the team became Jaguar Racing, which ran in F1 until 2005, at which point it was purchased by Red Bull and became the Red Bull Racing team.
Holy shit.
So, F1 conspiracy time. Jos Verstappen replaced a driver at the same team as his son did 19 years ago. 18 years ago. Kind of weird, huh?
That is very kind of eerie.
The year his son was born, don't forget.
It's a mid-season replacement, too.
The year his son was born. A mid-season replacement. One of the few of all time. Yeah. The only other few replacements, I think, I don't know if there's been any serious ones like that. Like some injuries, I guess. Like Massa was replaced when he got he was in a coma.
Well, there typically isn't because so here's what happens.
Yeah, most of the time you have a contract that you race out the season for your team. These guys have to switch cars now.
Well, that's
you know what I mean?
That's the thing.
They're each driving a brand new engine with a brand new system with they're competitors. Even though they're
different buttons on the steering wheel.
Even though they're father and son teams, they're competitors. Yeah, all the buttons are laid out different.
You can't just swap.
Personnel are different.
You can't just swap.
No,
I'm sure they're gonna unbolt the physical seat, like the body-shaped seat.
Right.
But yeah,
the steering wheels you can't swap like that because the one steering wheel for the Toro Rosso would have been kind of geared to like control shit on the Ferrari
engine, and then they got the Red Bulls got for the watch. They got the watch controls on their
Tag Heuer.
Yeah. Got it.
The Tag Heuer watch sitting behind the driver.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of weird though?
TikTok, motherfucker.
The year his son was born, he was a mid-season replacement at the same team his son
is now.
18 years later was a mid-season replacement at after he negotiated his contract with his F1 contacts. What?
Yeah.
And Marco's been hinting since before the season started that they've been looking for an excuse to do it. So let's go to the other side of this before we do. Like, I guess we can summarize both sides.
Yeah.
Kvyat moving down now has attracted to Toro Rosso a billionaire investor. I guess maybe he's 100 millionaire. I think he's 100 millionaire. Sergei Belousov.
Some Russian guy.
Yeah. He's Belousov. Yeah. Sergei Belousov. He's a PhD, super smart, venture capitalist, investor type dude. He runs Runa Capital. I don't know. They've put in like 10 billion investments or something. I think he's 100 millionaire. So anyway, he's backed Toro Rosso now. He's a Russian dude, Russian driver. He said as long as Tost remains at the Franz Tost and Kvyat remain at the team, he'll remain a sponsor. But no disclosure on an amount. But it seems like he's made a significant investment. Like he's trying to get some attention.
For sure.
Yeah. So there's the benefit for Toro Rosso, and actually, Sergei, and I get like maybe Kvyat wouldn't want to say this himself, but Sergei pushing his new sponsored team is saying he's better off there because they're more of a racing team, whereas Red Bull is more of a maintaining team, selling pops and stuff like that.
Yeah, the marketing branch.
Yeah, where Toro Rosso's more rough. They're running an old engine. They're fighting as hard as they can. Like you said, they got the two fighting drivers now. Yeah. He'll probably get along better with his new teammate. So,
but both teams are being
looking up,
funded,
looking up
by Red Bull.
By Red Bull,
yes, primarily. Yes.
Toro Rosso is a bull red in Italian, right?
Oh, okay, right. Oh, right, yeah.
There's something.
Toro, like with
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the red sheet. That's a bull. You're going like bull,
So,
bull,
okay,
come
so
here,
Red Bull does this. Why not like a team like Ferrari or Mercedes? I know like
So-
Ferrari sells their engines, right?
Ferrari kind of has now with
Right.
with Haas. They have
Right,
have
okay,
with
right.
Haas. The past and present tense.
There,
But yeah, so
there's something interesting
just-
also that
just
that,
the
that
hints of
happened
that, hints of
recently
that.
with
Matt?
Toro Rosso, and it's Xavi Pujolar. He was an engineer at Toro. He was Max Verstappen's engineer at Toro Rosso.
Okay.
And one of the things that, like, he was apparently one of the persons that was part of the problem, part of the inter-team rivalry within Toro Rosso
Okay.
between the two sides of the garage. And crucially, he disobeyed one of the orders and switched Max Verstappen's tire strategy in like mid-race, last race in Russia.
In Russia.
Yeah, they went a different way than Carlos Sainz, but that was sort of it started to happen. He was basically kept in the team because he was Max Verstappen's engineer, but now that Verstappen moved on, and he didn't bring I guess Verstappen just chose not to bring, or it wasn't part of the negotiations. Verstappen getting a different engineer. I'm assuming Daniel Kvyat's engineer. So now Red Bull Toro Rosso fired
him.
Fired this Xavi Pujolar, who's been on the sport for a long time. He worked with Montoya. He worked with Schumacher or Ralph Schumacher, Mark Webber. He's a guy that had been kind of thereabouts in F1, and he's gone because of that. So part of the whole move too. I mean, maybe part of the things that also sped up this haste transition, looked like a haste transition from the outside, could have been, it was just the last straw, like what Kvyat did. But everything else kind of had been lining up for that swap to happen.
Yeah, like I think Ted's probably right. It was more or less an excuse, like Helmut Marko saying, the worst ones, going talking about the two Dannys. Obviously, they're not going to get rid of Danny Rick because Kvyat's not doing anything in social media, but Danny Rick's kind of going.
He's such a likable
He's still
character.
super young, but he's moving a lot more.
He's the only Australian in F1 right now,
Yeah.
and Australia's a big market for F1. And he is a potential F1 champion, and that is the thing that the Red Bull
Big
Academy and Dr. Helmut Marko, that's his whole deal, is that he's not in it, or they're not in it to find like the next competent driver that deserves his seat in F1. They're there to find the next world champion.
Fuck
Right. And Danny Ricciardo, he could be one. He's a superb driver. Max Verstappen, now everybody's saying that he could be another F1 champion. Danny Kvyat, I don't see that in him.
Is it because of the crashes? Is that it?
No, from the very
Don't
beginning.
forget, before the race, he I think during practice he said that he was going to show Vettel no mercy for what he did at the.
That's just a piece of shit thing to say.
For yelling at him on TV or what?
Yeah.
I guess that's why, because he embarrassed him. And then you see him after the race. He's like, try to make fun of me, try to talk shit or whatever he said. Try to talk shit about me. He's like, fuck you, and then walked away from the cameras. You can't do that, man. No. He's done. He's not gonna be racing next year. I don't believe it that he would be.
But here's the thing though, with this new sponsorship that he's getting, and
maybe
here's the other
he
thing.
might move down again though.
No, but here's the thing. The Red Bull Drivers Academy right now, after Verstappen, like right now, their roster is apparently not looking very strong. All the kids that everybody's been making a lot of noise about that could potentially have
swept up.
a shot in F1. Yeah. What's it called? We talked. We saw the Stoff.
Yeah.
Stoff of Van Dorn. He's with McLaren. Lance Stroll. He's with Williams. The people that actually are like F1 material, they've been snatched up. The current roster of the Red Bull Driver Academy is not as strong. So that might be the one thing that keeps Kvyat in F1 next year. If Red Bull don't have a suitable replacement for him.
Right, because that's what it sort of comes down to,
Yeah.
right? Unless they find someone that has more potential or is an actually better driver.
Exactly.
Another reason I'd lean towards believing what Ted said as well is that don't forget at the start of the race last week, the Russian race, Ted was sort of standing at the end of the pit lane as the cars were going up for the warm-up lap. Remember what he said about Verstappen's car? He's like, oh, it's made some weird noises. Some blue smoke's coming out.
Yeah.
And then the car failed. The engine failed during the race.
True.
Verstappen didn't finish even. He had an engine failure. I guess he should be happy now.
Who?
Two of the Max.
Verstappen. He apparently hasn't slept in 3
He hasn't
days.
slept for 3 days. Yeah, he's gonna be too tired to drive.
It's definitely, like, guys, come on. It's hard not to look forward to what's gonna happen now in between him and Danny Rick, because we're talking about Danny Rick and sitting on a Red Bull, the same Danny Rick that showed Vettel what was good. Remember that?
Remember that?
Don't. There's only one of two reasons that obviously he's good. Like, everyone talks shit about this 17-year-old kid and blah blah.
Yeah, he's good.
And there was like one or two things that he fucked up last year where he just got shit for it because he's this is why we shouldn't have 17-year-olds in the racing and blah blah blah. But it's either his dad is that much of a badass manager, kept his contacts, helped his son, brought him up through the ranks, and got him into the same fucking team. You know, there's people at the office wherever that are still there. People that came from Ford to Jaguar to Red Bull, blah blah. He knows those guys. His son is there. It's either conspiracy or this simulation theory is real. Earth is not real. We're living inside a computer simulation. 18 years later, on the year of the birth of his son, he takes over a mid-season seat replacement of the same car he was driving. Come on.
Maybe that's just
Get the fuck out of here.
magical synchronicity.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Something
It's
like
magic.
that, right?
Some kind of magic.
Some kind of hocus
Okay,
pocus.
on the point of conspiracy theory, did you guys see Lewis Hamilton's Instagram maybe a week or two ago, where he sort of like put to rest like any sort of conspiracy that might be between him and Rosberg?
Like with his teams?
Yeah. So
I think I've got that open here.
yeah, I'll put that on.
Yeah.
I'll put that on the stream.
He wrote a mini letter to the public, basically saying like, "You got to stop talking shit about my team." Like all the Lewis Spears. We called the episode last week the Lewis Spearsy.
I know.
So we're guilty. We're definitely guilty of
I
this.
felt so bad. Yeah.
We're talking shit though. Like, I know it's not on purpose.
So
unless there is a Lewis Spearsy and Rosberg paid his old dudes to fuck with his car, like I said, sprinkle some salt crystals into the transmission.
You're a monster. Okay, so it says here,
a monster. I wouldn't do that.
Lewis
I
Hamilton
love
says,
Lewis.
I want you to know how grateful I am for all of your support. I'd like to ask you that please trust in my team as I do. This is my family. These guys have been the greatest, hardest working people for me, and that's why I know now that I'm a 3 times world champion. Please do not put any more thought into my team doing anything unjust towards me, and understand that it would be in no one's best interest for that to be the case. Oh, jeez.
Et cetera, et cetera.
It keeps on going. But
basically.
but we love it.
Yeah.
We love it. It's so juicy, right? Because we want to sort of believe that there's like some sort of inner conspiracy, right?
Well, I mean, geez, the best fans in the world, Lewis Hamilton's fans, so they're for sure
Number one.
Yeah, they're going nuts. This was something that apparently like some non-journalists started to float.
Such as ourselves.
Well, yeah, I guess so. and it was picked up by the best fans in the world, the Lewis Hamilton
To
fans.
us?
Yeah.
and blown out of proportion. Obviously, nobody thinks that. I mean, it would be kind of silly for like there to be.
I don't know. I kind of think that.
But okay, hold on a second. Maybe
conspiracy leaning.
this is a better way to look at it. Obviously, we don't believe that. But if it
obvious though?
Hold on.
I kind
hold
of
on.
do.
Let me finish my fucking sentence, and I'll tell you. But if it was true, I don't think we'd be that surprised.
Right.
I think that's the angle. Maybe you're just
Look at Rosberg's left eye. It's evil, man. If you're gonna make a fucking movie about a bad guy who's your rival and teammate, you'd give him like a red eye like that. Looks evil, man. Like the Terminator. Do you remember that movie?
No, I don't
He had the
remember.
red eye.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Okay,
it.
And that proves everything.
Yeah, it does.
Hey, actually,
It really does.
Now that we were talking about people doing tests and whatever, and like new drivers like coming through the field, there is actually somebody that I'm pretty excited about. Last year, I was following a lot more closely than I am this year, but I was following the European Formula 3 Championship just because I guess Lance Stroll was there, as he still is.
Yes.
And Tatiana Calderon, she isn't. But the one kid that really impressed, like above everybody else, was Rookie of that Year, Charles Leclerc. This is a kid from he races, at least for now, under the Monaco flag. He's Monegasque.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah. There hasn't been too many people that race for Monaco. Even the people that live in Monaco don't race for Monaco. Like Nico Rosberg, he grew up in Monaco. He doesn't race for Monaco anyway. But Charles Leclerc,
It's not a real country.
yeah.
Sorry, Prince Albert.
He's 18 years old now, and he just finished a test with Ferrari. He's with the Ferrari Driver Academy. And last year, he was chasing the champion on his first year in Formula 3. Formula 3 being the category that Max Verstappen got lifted from. So in European Formula 3, he was winning races his first year. There's people that have that. He basically didn't win because this other dude, Blomqvist, this Swedish guy that is 20 something, and this kid is he was 17, he's now 18. But this guy that had been racing in the same category in Formula 3 for years, and he was one of the best in European Formula 3. He won last year, this Blomqvist guy, but a close contender was Leclerc on his first year in Formula 3. So this kid actually has enormous talent. He's quick. He can be quick qualifying for Formula 3, which is no easy feat.
Right.
He can be quick during the race. He was putting some great fights. And now he did a test where he completed his 300 Ks that he needs to apply for a super license. So clearly Ferrari has this kid in their sights. He's one of the most exciting guys that could eventually float to F1. Right up there with Stoffel Van Dorn. Watch out.
Since Max is locked down.
Since Max is locked down, this guy is going to be one of the big ones.
Don't forget about Nicholas Latifi. But
and then again,
anyone that's interested, Torontonians, Canadians especially, come back to the second clip of the show, the second half today. We're going to talk about this dude. Nicholas Latifi, Torontonian, fucking super license holder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he applied. He can be. But yeah, this is another guy that's coming through the ranks. Just wanted to do a little highlight on him.
Yeah, I like seeing these guys come up. It's interesting now.
Definitely watch out for that name, Charles Leclerc of Monaco. For now.
At first, I thought you said Charlotte Clark.
That's what I thought you started with.
Bernie Ecclestone almost shit himself.
Charlotte.
So let's go back to the Kvyat Verstappen. Well, okay, Kvyat Verstappen, we've talked about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about their teams.
Okay.
Honda and Red Bull. So obviously, you need a driver to drive the car.
Honda? You mean Toro Rosso?
Yeah. The Honda Rosso and the Renault Bull. Let's talk about this. What did I say?
Honda, Red Bull. That's what you said.
Oh, sorry. Honda and Renault, Toro Rosso, and Red Bull. So you need a driver. You need to power these cars. The Toro Rosso right now is driving a 2015 Ferrari engine.
Yeah, 1 year old.
Because last year there were no rules about engines, and Ferrari said, "Fuck yourself. We'll give you an old one though if you want. We got some leftovers.
Yeah.
You can have 4 of them next year." Right? Renault, right now, through a watch company, is powering the Red Bull because Red Bull talked a bunch of shit. So apparently, I tried to find, but I couldn't find. There's an actual rule though next year in the regulations that you're not allowed to talk shit about your engine supplier in the Formula One rules.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. You're not allowed to talk shit.
That's kind of gross.
But there's also a new rule that we sort of touched on last week,
Yeah.
which is the obligation to supply.
Yes.
So the way it works is there's 4 engines in Formula One,
Right.
4 engine suppliers, which is, we all know, Mercedes, Honda, Renault,
Ferrari.
and Ferrari. There are 11 teams divided out. That means that there needs to be you got to supply a minimum 3 teams, really. If obligated, you're allowed to supply more,
Okay.
right?
There's
So-
like a minimum you have to supply.
Well, there's
There's
actually
a minimum.
no minimum.
There's really, I guess, no minimum either, because there could be less teams. But
If there's a team without an engine, they have
right,
to.
no team can be left without an engine, which is what almost happened to
Red Bull.
to Red Bull, and which is why they ended up with the Renault Tag Heuer
Okay.
deal, which is kind of weird. So the way it's gonna work is, well, it's really like Red Bull wanted the Ferrari or Mercedes engine, but those teams said
Current Ferrari.
the current ones, the current ones, they refused to take the 2015s. But those 2 teams said, "Well, you'll beat us with those, so no."
And if you don't beat us, then you'll start talking shit.
Right. Which is kind of how Alonso got in trouble. You should have known. He talked shit about Ferrari. But see, it gets kind of weird. It gets in. So basically, Honda told Red Bull, "You're not getting the Honda engine. You're not getting it."
We can't even use it.
Right. But so the way it works, and the reason that Ferrari and Mercedes agreed to these new obligation to supply rules is because at the moment it doesn't actually apply to them,
No.
because each of them supply 3 teams.
Yeah.
So
So they'll
nobody
go to
force-
whoever has is supplying the least amount of teams, and
Right.
they'll be like, oh, you can fork it up.
Yeah, we were each
Come
doing
on.
3, so it's
Yeah.
up to you guys now.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's crazy. So Toro Rosso, they're not going to run the old engine anymore.
Right.
They're not. So, and it seems like they're really close to getting a Honda deal. What they want, and see, there's been some behind the scenes stuff. There's a quote from Bernie Ecclestone saying, like, the reason this ruling came around and the reason it's pertinent to Honda is because they got themselves into trouble because they had an exclusive deal with McLaren. So
okay.
McLaren originally pulled Honda in and said, we'll get your engine exclusively. But on the other side of that, last year, their engine was shit. You saw
Right.
a bunch of fireballs, right?
Right. Yeah.
Nobody actually wanted it, to be fair.
Well, there was a joke. Remember when we went to go see him in Montreal?
The Mick Honda?
The Honda. It sounded like it was
Yeah.
had like shit in its throat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the
It sounded horrible, but
Yeah.
it seems like they've made some steps and they're going to make some more steps to make it somewhat desirable.
right.
So through these new rules and through what Ecclestone said, they will be obligated to supply Toro Rosso. Expect that engine in that car next year.
Okay, so then my question is, does Toro Rosso want that engine?
I think they do.
I mean, if
I think
if-
it's going to
if
be better
Honda-
for them than the Ferrari 2015.
Right, but if Honda and McLaren can't get their engine to go the way they wanted to, what's to say that Toro Rosso can make that happen?
Well, I guess the idea is that by the end of this year, they better fucking have it going the way they want it to go.
Right.
I think
Because
that's
it seems, since we started the podcast and since I've gotten to F1, it's, McLaren, as much as I want to root for Alonso, I do. I think he's one of my favorite guys. But at the same time, like, what happened in the last race? He had like one lap where he's like,
one lap where he
Fuck
just said,
it.
fuck you guys are
Yeah.
going to turn this thing up
Yeah,
to 11 and
exactly.
see what happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like one of his
It was
best-
amazing.
Yeah,
It was-
great.
everyone loved it.
It was fantastic.
And the fact that he promoted that.
Now, so why don't so Toro Rosso? How did they not see this?
They did. So to save face, don't forget that's the Japanese way.
Right.
Do you remember his name? Because Arai's not allowed to talk to the media anymore. The Honda head
Oh,
dude.
Jesus, I forgot. Yeah.
See if you can find it quick, just
Yeah.
while I'm talking for a second.
Yeah.
But Honda, as of a day or two ago, came out with their own headline. Don't worry, we're ready to supply 1 or 2 teams. See, they're probably saving face a little bit, right? And
Right.
also this week, you can find another headline from Toro Rosso. Franz Tost said, we're looking for a 2017 to 2020 deal with Honda. This is what we want. They did say they want it, but they want it negotiated. even though these new rules are in place, they don't want the deal forced.
Right. Okay.
Because they want to get it. They don't want some grains of sand in their piston holes or whatever. Right? From Honda.
Yusuke Hasegawa.
Yusuke Hasegawa came out this week and said, yeah, Honda's ready to supply 2 teams. Honda's ready to supply 2. We're not going to be forced. And Tost on the other side said, we want a Honda engine, but we don't want them to be forced. We want to negotiate and get a deal.
Okay.
So that's the deal. And Renault at the same time, let's face it, they are supplying Red Bull.
Yes.
It's not a watch in the back of the car.
No.
But they've said that they've had some favorable talks. I guess with this new shit talking rule, they're ready to put their name back on the Red Bull cars for next year. And seems like they've proven to Red Bull that Red Bull wants their name back on their car.
Okay.
And they're coming to Renault coming to Canada with some badass upgrades apparently. Obviously, Red Bull has one of the best chassis on the grid because they're kicking ass in the corners.
Yes.
We'll see what young Max can do with that chassis. But it'll be interesting. These are the ways that it's going. We're going to see more Hondas next year and more Renaults. More proud Renaults because of the obligation. Even though it's that their suppliers will now argue that they are not obliged.
Yeah.
We are not obliged. We want our engines are awesome. What do you mean? You want to anyone can drive this engine. You want it? Just come buy it. Interesting.
Definitely interesting.
And Kvyat's going to have to be stuck with that piece of shit. And it looks like the Renault's kicking ass. Max Verstappen's got a wicked chassis now. And probably a pretty cool engine for next year. Especially totally separate from all of this as F1 goes.
Yeah.
There might be some sort of equalization in place next year. Hopefully not. I kind of hope not.
Okay, so
I want to see them fight out.
Remember last week when we were
those
talking
gaps.
about, or the week before, when we were talking about the TJI, the turbojet ignition, the system.
This is what Ferrari's trying to work.
So no, apparently, Mercedes had that system. But this is known. Like Mercedes.
But
had
they
it
let
before.
everyone believe it was HCCI alone.
But yeah, or they just were, or the separation of the turbo compressor and that it was that. But no,
Right.
they've had it on their new engine all along. They've had that turbojet ignition
Since the beginning of the hybrids?
since
the beginning?
since 2014.
No spark plugs.
No,
Not in the conventional sense.
right, exactly. No traditional spark plugs. Ferrari started playing around with the technology and introduced it actually to their engines last year in Canada, and Renault is bringing it for this year in Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the timeline.
I think I was just saying that. Yeah. Right. I guess Red Bull is ready to be forced to stop talking shit.
Yeah.
And Renault, since they have the responsibility of their own team, is ready to build a badass engine since they have to.
Yeah. Well, and they're Red Bull has, Renault definitely has allocated more of a research and development
More
team.
budget for sure.
Yeah.
Well, again, since they have to, they have a yellow painted car that says Renault on it.
For all their French fans, they definitely have to. So yeah, that's definitely all gonna come to play. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to this weekend's race, because it is a race that, okay, we know now after last race and actually the last two races that Mercedes is miles away, right? Like they still are. They have the quickest car. They're definitely the quickest in many regards, and the reliability is way up there. It's definitely way higher than Ferrari.
Unless you're Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently, but still,
They really haven't proven their reliability. They're like 40% or something.
Yeah,
Hamilton's car is blown up, even though he's been able to
Actually,
happen
I
in
guess-
quali.
I guess
Luckily, some of that shit happened in quali. That they could
since
still
last
race.
year they've kind of decreased in reliability, but it's probably because
Yeah.
they're starting to really
They're
push.
really pushing the limits. Yeah.
But when they do really push it, their car is definitely like way further. The Red Bull
Hey, I'm
has
just
shown
playing
to be
the
the
devil's advocate.
quickest around the slowest corner,
For sure.
but apparently Ferrari
As is there.
does have a bit of an advantage, or can be the quickest on the fast corners. Now, Ferrari kind of for a long time, like that has been part of their design philosophy a little bit. Like they do tend to go for like the car that's quickest around the fast corners. Too bad there's not a
a lot of fast corners.
Yeah, but you know where there's quite a few fast corners? In Spain.
In Spain.
Yeah, so that's it. Basically, Ferrari's gonna have, and I think that everybody is looking forward to this, that they are actually gonna be within reach. Because the track is not super huge. There's not a lot of like huge straights where the Mercedes are just going to pull away. Fast corners are involved. The weather's going to be like warmer.
Medium speed track with some high speed corners.
Yeah. So that's going to be
kind of an anomaly almost.
Yeah. It's going to be good to see them fighting in Barcelona.
I think it's one of the reasons they test there is because it's a very good all around type of track. Very all around,
and it's warmer than the rest of Europe, I guess. That's
that too. Yeah, well, for the early season, but don't forget they're testing there next week. Next week is the in-season test.
Right
after the race, everyone except Sauber.
Sauber's not going to be
sticking around, and they're actually not bringing their upgrades anymore. That they had said they're coming with upgrades in Spain.
Sauber's
can't afford it.
Really,
they're gonna skip the test.
Trouble.
Maybe they're doing that to prove something. Like, look how poor we are. We can't even upgrade our cars. Stick around. But I don't know. I'm sure they'd be there if they wanted. If they could, I'm sure they would.
Who is Sauber sponsored by? Like, who's their big sort of supplier?
Right now, Banco do Brasil.
The Brazilian bank. They're blue
Ferrari.
and yellow. They have pull up their car for a second.
They have a long-standing relationship with Ferrari. They've had it for a long time, for the last few years.
There was sort of some talk in China, wasn't there, that Ferrari kind of hinted that they wouldn't let Sauber go disappear or something? Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah,
I don't have any quote. I don't remember an exact quote.
Because
something like that.
Sauber's a good number two, or not a number two, but like Sauber's a good.
It's a good team.
Subject.
It's a good team for them to supply, and then say, "Hey, we're supplying 3. Don't worry about it."
Yeah,
even though then they don't have to even worry or mention. Like, this team hasn't got a single mention this year. Like, Sky doesn't talk about them. They don't go talk to the drivers on the grid, in the pits. On the
last time that
during practice,
this team really made any noise was
we saw Kaltenborn once in the background of Ted's talk this year, Ted's notebook. I think that was in China when he was talking about it. But she didn't. I don't even think Kaltenborn's been to every race.
No,
even though she's the team principal.
Exactly,
she's been out trying to get money.
Yeah, and
who were their drivers?
Felipe,
exactly.
Yeah, Felipe Nasser and Marcus Ericsson. Yeah.
God.
But yeah, their main sponsor and pretty much only sponsor, as you can see, is the Banco do Brasil.
Yeah,
it looks whatever this Solana thing is.
And the one on the back, Solana. That's twice. And Erkelan.
No, and if you go to actually their car does have more stickers now. That's I guess how it started the year. Now it has.
They're looking a lot like the old Manor though. Like last year, they started with no sponsors.
Yeah, it's grim.
They started. At least this car looks like they do have sponsors, even though they don't. Like, they wrote their own name on it. Like, the Manor one was just one color. It was just basically like bright orange, bright red.
Yeah. But they're struggling to stay afloat. This team. So
do you think they're going to be around next year?
There's a high probability that they won't be.
I think unless Ferrari's gonna do like some sort of strategic partnership, like they're gonna give Toro Rosso a new engine, which they won't. They will keep this team afloat, I think.
Hey, you know
with the very minimumist of budget, no new wings, no nothing, some shit.
You know what's super annoying too about Sauber, and just something that I would have never considered, because they're based out of Switzerland, and they don't only race under the Swiss flag, but they're actually also based out of Switzerland, which is not true of many international teams like Force India. They race under the Indian flag, but they're actually based in the UK. These guys, because they're actually based out of Switzerland, they obviously have to obey all kinds of Swiss law, of course. And one of the intricacies of that is that in Switzerland, trucks, I guess, are only allowed to be a certain size, and they're only allowed to carry that like a certain amount of load. So because of that adds to like their complication, like
because the car is 2 meters wide.
No. The trucks that they used to like carry shit around Europe, they have to be more lightly packed than any of the other teams. So and because
they're in Switzerland.
Because they're in Switzerland, so that just adds a whole nother like just level of like either like because they have to.
I thought you were gonna say like the extra 0.2 meters width was gonna be too wide for their old ass roads.
Just because they can't pack that much or as much as any other team, that just makes like their life harder. Either they have to like run an extra more trucks, but that's way more expensive. So. It just everything their whole model, like that's why a lot of people say like should Sauber even like should they even exist, like
should they
why are they but the opposite side of the coin to that is that their facilities in Switzerland are actually quite good. They have for a small team they have their own quite competent wind tunnel. They have their CFD facilities are good, etc., etc. That's maybe what, if anything, funded the rumor that they were placing themselves in line to be taken over by Alfa Romeo.
Oh, right.
Because you can, with the facilities that they have, you can still build a competent F1 team if you have the money.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was just assuming because of all those, Swiss bank accounts.
Yeah.
Right.
Brazilian bank accounts.
Or
Banco do Brazil.
Both of them.
I just looked up what Silana is. It seems like they make cellular radio frequency products and some voltage regulator type products. But also that they've just been acquired by Qualcomm, which is one of the biggest processor and radio frequency manufacturers in the world. So
and a big Mercedes sponsor too.
Yeah, which Mercedes sponsor. So don't be surprised if the Solana name disappears off the Sauber pretty soon. This is the newest blog entry on Solana's website, but it's also copyright 2014. So who knows what's happening with these guys? Yeah, they're basically nothing. Sorry,
but anyway, we got to speaking of Sauber because we're talking about the Spanish Grand Prix, and that's coming up, and that is something that's going to be very interesting. Lots of good. I mean, if anything, to see like what's going to happen now in Red Bull and Toro Rosso, like that's definitely going to be one of my main points. On top of that, Ferrari could be competitive again. On top of that, are we gonna see Lewis back? Apparently, the betting odds for him and Rosberg are exactly the same now.
Even betting, I think it was
Stevens.
I think it was 2.2 to 1 for both drivers. Vettel was 7. Kimi Räikkönen was 15 to 1.
Jesus.
Yeah. Or so maybe it's 1. Yeah, 50. Yeah, 1. So I don't know. They're even. They're even odds. They're even odds at this point.
What's your sort of takeaway? Well, maybe not your takeaway from that, but. What do you see sort of happening in the next race?
It's up in the air, man. I don't know.
Does it really all depend on the grid? Because if Lewis gets the top and he pulls away
for Spain,
if his luck turns around, man, he's a better driver than Rosberg. I believe that.
You still believe that?
Deeply, yeah, for real.
And it's not just because you don't like Rosberg?
He was born. No, it's not. It's not because I dislike Rosberg. I don't not like him. I actually dislike him. It's like both sides of the limit.
Yeah.
I'm one of those fighting guys at the top for Rosberg. Yeah, Hamilton's a smooth guy. I prefer that. Yeah, I've been cheering for Hamilton and Vettel since they both started. My blood is half British, half German, and they're both my age. I had to.
It just felt right.
Yeah, it's not my fault. They're both awesome. It's not my fault.
I mean, Lewis is he's been described as the quickest guy in F1 at the moment.
Yeah,
he's the probably maybe if all the cars were the same and you were doing just qualifying, like just one qualifying lap, or give somebody the chance to do 6 qualifying laps, Lewis would probably be the fastest of them all.
Vettel's close, but he's
it's always Alonso.
He's yeah, that's true. But Alonso's getting older, and Vettel is more of the smooth type, but he's close to the fighting type.
Yeah,
he can be pushed over the anger edge a lot easier.
Yeah,
I think. He can do the anger. I don't know.
No, you say Alonso is you just said, it's he's an older guy, but I mean, is he that old?
He's only 34.
No, but man, in the way of sports, that's a huge amount, man.
Yeah, but Jaromir Jagr is 45, 46 years old, and he's demolishing kids. Just dominating them.
Children.
Yeah, exactly. Like just
Yeah.
killing them in
Okay.
the NHL, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't
I
think
crush some kids too in hockey. Just put my fist on
right,
their
but
their
like
helmet.
if they are as good as you say they are, then I really don't and like. And if sort of hand-eye coordination and reaction time are somewhat genetic and then enhanced with actually practicing it, then what's to stop them from keep on going? Like,
Listen, and
You look
Alonso,
at, like,
Alonso's case
Anderson
is
Silva. Any fighters? Sorry.
No,
39 years old, though.
Alonso's case is particular because yes, he's only 34. He's by no means like, you know what I mean. He's not old.
Mm-hmm.
But he might be old enough to start, so that you can start seeing some performance deficits.
That
in
and
F1.
he came into F1 in a different, slightly at least enough different generation.
Oh yeah,
that shit is baked in his head. Extra years that Hamilton and Vettel have. Less older cars baked in. Every year the car changes, I think, pretty dramatically.
Right.
Even from this,
Right.
even if you stick with the same team for a couple of years, it's changing every year. It's evolving. And
if you saw the first steering wheel that Alonso had to deal with in F1 and today's, like,
him.
there's been a big change.
And if you compare
Huge.
Hamilton's first and Vettel's first wheel to theirs, even though it's 4 years different, Hamilton's
right,
30.
but they also
Hamilton's 30
all
years
started
old,
on
so it's Vettel.
go-karts.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And all of these
Right.
things don't have the buttons. It's about adapting than it is.
But I think in a go kart you're in a different mindset than an
Right.
F1 car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that.
Oh yeah.
You get something like more than 100 times the power.
Right.
A go-kart's going to have like
absolutely.
20, 25 horsepower.
Absolutely.
A racing go-kart, maybe 40, 50 horsepower. These cars are in 7, 8,
Yeah.
900 now.
Yeah, but once you're still the objective doesn't change.
No, of course.
Well,
right?
in,
Win the
in,
race.
in go-karting is important in the development of a lot of drivers, and that's why they choose to like do go-karting, because in go-karting they learn a lot of the skills that they do take into F1 in terms of
the
race
fundamentals. Yeah.
Right.
like straight
You're
racing, like
excluding
one-to-one
aerodynamics, how the car will react to.
Yeah.
Right.
And leaning and
just,
shifting weight.
yeah, and just learning like cornering, like basics of cornering, and learning how to fight other drivers too. Very important for karting. Now, the F1, yeah, there's just so much other
Everything
shit going.
changes.
Yeah, so much other shit just
Right.
going on top of just like, yes, there is fighting and like there is like racecraft involved, but there's just so much more else that you can't really compare those two, and you can't compare like different eras of F1 even to each other.
Right.
But like physiological changes do affect you, man, and like
Yeah.
there are things that, as you saw for Alonso, like practicing his peripheral vision and his reaction time with that lights thing.
Right.
It's because 34 is not too young to start losing like your eyes, your peripheral vision apparently is one of the first things that goes, that starts to go, and you don't have to be 60 for that to start to go enough that it might affect your performance. Now
Okay.
you have to compensate
Yeah.
for that, and there are ways, if you're a professional and if you're an athlete through and through, and if you're serious about it, you can compensate for all of that, and you can adjust your behavior
Right.
for it. So I'm not saying that Alonso should, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say that Alonso, like, because it's time for Alonso to retire, like so many people did it.
Yeah, it's like, get out of the sport.
I wouldn't say that,
Right.
but his age at this point, it's starting to matter. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to make him a worse driver. He's probably still on the grid, given the same car, one of the best.
And don't forget, he's gotten fucked up. Excuse my French. In 2 major accidents this year, both
That's true.
exceeding
That's true.
40 G, and one of them was more than the other. The first one I don't remember, but the second one more than once, where his body reached 40 G twice. 2 huge impacts, and he was basically in a coma. Like it was not. He'd never said publicly, but it seems like he was in a coma for a day or so,
Yeah.
or possibly an induced one from the practice crash. Remember what?
Yeah.
We talked
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
a few months ago.
Okay, so
He got fucked up twice, big time, within the span of a year. Big crashes.
Yeah.
so you guys both know that like I've missing vision in my left eye, right?
Right.
And that's my peripheral. But my reaction time hasn't changed. Like I constantly play competitive games. I'm on point. I probably never have been quicker.
If you look out of that eye, you see the same at a distance or close, or you can read the same with it. You just don't see far to the left.
So
right?
I can't see my hand.
Outside vision.
Like if my hand is here,
there.
I can't see it.
Yeah.
But I play goalie. I play all these things. It's what I'm trying to say is that it's more about the mentality than it is the actual how much you actually see, right?
Yeah, but the challenge.
I'm also not a Formula One driver.
Yeah,
all right. Let's make that very, very clear.
The challenge of being a Formula One. I mean, because you have to if let's say maybe it won't affect you for different things, but if you've been counting on it, if you've counted on your peripheral vision, for example, to help you spot a marker here on this side that would have been your reference before for your braking point. And all of a sudden you can't spot it as quickly anymore, then that's gonna involve some behavior change. Then you're not gonna be looking for this marker anymore. You're gonna be looking for one over here
in the front. And you might look like something like here's the front edge of your car, and something at the second that lines up with this. You'd have to get it something
right
in your
I still don't buy that
in your line.
But I just don't because it's I don't think that's how that works. But I'm not obviously a Formula One driver.
We looked at a clip on this podcast maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. Mercedes did a filming day. Remember, it was at Silverstone. It was raining.
Right.
And Hamilton was driving the car, and they had a camera mounted on or inside his helmet, and you're looking at his eyes. And he was talking about his periphery and his outside vision. One of the dudes from Sky was interviewing him for this. And you can see his eyeballs. So for people that are watching this show, they were going left and right, and it was like this. Even on the straights, you could see both the camera was on his face, and both his eyes were doing this.
Yeah. No,
even on the straights in and out, but he's just constantly looking left and right. His eyeballs were almost vibrating left and right.
Yeah,
it was interesting to see, but
I know absolutely.
He wasn't doing that to show off. He's trying not to crash
because he's going 300 kilometers an hour.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
That becomes part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's I don't know. That's what you would do, or Alonso would do, and that's probably why. You can build that up. There's I don't know if anyone's listening seen any little speed reading type programs. That's what they have you do.
Right.
You say put your head as close as you can to your screen. The balls bounce back and forth. Picking out left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. They're showing you things on your periphery. Right. That helps you with speed reading, moving your eyes. You're just working those muscles. That's why you lose it when you get old.
Right.
Because we're not out hunting and shit every day and trying to see stuff far away on mountains and driving on ships that you have to see the shore and stuff.
Right.
You're not working your eye muscles, focusing in and out and left to right people used to be. If you did that every day, people that go to the gym and lift weights and shit.
Right.
If you get up and look left, right, left, right, left, right 100 times, I don't think you'll ever really lose your periphery.
Right.
Or you're going to maintain it for an extra decade.
I totally understand that. One last point. I think you guys are right, regardless. But the mentality. None
of us are opticians
or
ophthalmologists
or
Formula One
drivers.
Let's make that very clear.
Astronomers or whatever.
So the game, you guys know I play Super Smash Brothers, right? Yeah. And so the people who get into the game for the very beginning only look at their character while they're playing, right? When I play the game, or when competitive people play the game with other people, they're not looking at their character. They're looking at the whole thing at one time. Yeah. They don't need to know the specifics of exactly what they're doing, but if they can gauge their trajectory, if they can just hear sound cues, movement cues, they're able just to not even focus and just play using the peripheral vision or their just a very fuzzy form of it, but they can still see and react as quickly, right? Because obviously driving is more than reaction time. It's about intelligence. It's about road awareness. There's so many factors that go into being a great driver, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
absolutely. That's all coming up that's all coming up soon, man. That's Spanish Grand Prix,
right?
This weekend. I think we're gonna see some fireworks. I think we're gonna see something good. If it might
another Mercedes podium.
Yeah, But who's Mercedes? Is Lewis gonna is Nico gonna go for an 8th consecutive win?
Even odds for gamblers. Even odds.
Well, that's what I brought up. It's like, is it about the grid? Like, who do you think has a better chance of the grid?
Yes,
getting top on the grid.
Okay, you know
Nico
what? Pole position would definitely be like Spain is one of those. Barcelona is one of these tracks that an overwhelming amount of people win from pole, or actually a discouraging amount of people don't win, or that have won not from pole. It's so you basically have to the challenge is going to be to do a good qualifying session.
Like I said, I love this track.
But who knows what's going to happen?
Around.
Actually, who knows what's going to happen with that with the 3-tire route, with the 3 tires now. Like, there could be actually a big mix-up, or maybe, is it too early to say that maybe the 3-tire scenario has maybe tampered a bit with the necessity to be on pole?
What are they here? This is soft, super soft, and medium?
Yes.
For Spain?
It's going to be like
right.
that, yes.
See, isn't it weird? Well, it's not weird. It's not weird at all. All the teams tested here for preseason testing. Mercedes never threw on the hard tire once, right?
No.
In preseason testing?
Correct.
They're going to smash everybody at this race. They did. What did they do? Like 8,000 kilometers? I don't remember the number. We talked about this a few times. It's something like 8,000 kilometers, like a quarter of the way around the equator in testing. They almost doubled the next best team at the preseason testing. They did insane amounts of laps. They never used the tire that's not even being used here. It's ridiculous.
Here, Mike, I'm just adding something right now to the book.
Yeah, make no mistake. Mercedes 1-2, smashing everyone else. It's whoever else is racing on third for third place. Anyone else's race for third.
Did you take a look at the Pirelli tire choices? For the Spanish Grand Prix.
This race, the graphic, I didn't see that yet.
No. Just who went for what kind of tire?
No, I didn't. Can you pull it up? Yeah. We pulling it up?
Yeah, Mike is working on it.
Who did anyone pick the hardest?
Well, you mean the hard tire?
The hardest of the three.
Where is it? Did you highlight it?
Yeah.
It's soft, medium, and hard.
It's in their Pirelli tire choice.
Soft, medium, hard.
It's actually So it's gonna be soft, medium, and hard.
Oh, see what the fuck? See, I just said super soft, and medium.
Sorry, yes, no. I.
So okay, so maybe not.
Wrong.
I was wrong too then because Mercedes never used the hard in the preseason, right? And now this is required for the race. Well, I guess it's not required.
Do a quick Google search: Pirelli tire choice Spain.
Yeah, they've been putting up a graphic, everyone's choices.
While Mike looks it up there, sorry, yes, it is going to be the soft, medium, and hard. We were wrong there. But out of that, it seems like most teams, and especially the top teams, are staying away.
Going to the harder of the compounds.
No, they went to the softest. Like everybody's steering clear of the hards.
The hard. Oh fuck.
Yeah, it's the soft is going to be what everybody's gunning to. Look at that. Vettel and Raikkonen, each one with 8 sets.
8 sets and one or two. Nobody has more than 2 of the hardest tire. Wow.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's the first link there. I think it's from Formula1.com.
I thought this was more of a high abrasion track because it's more of a downforce track. Get it together.
Just Google. Yeah.
Outside of this, Force India promising a huge upgrade.
No, Pirelli tire.
Any of
yes,
any of you VJ Malia fans need not worry. You can worry about VJ Malia himself because I believe he'll be in jail soon. But his team will be doing well. They're promising an upgrade close to what they did last year, mid-season. Remember the B-Spec
there it is.
upgrade? There we go.
There we go.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Wait,
is that highlighted? Is that why it looks so gray? Oh no.
So the biggest extreme is between Sauber and Ferrari. And from 5 to 8 of the soft tires between the two, with Sauber opting towards the harder end of the range. I guess their degradation is high, extremely high.
Yeah. So the soft tires, we saw them go a long distance in Russia. So that's clearly what teams like. Look at what Ferrari's doing. So they're clearly gonna hope to do the undercut. They know that they're not faster than Mercedes, so they're definitely gonna try to do way more pit stops with the softer. And look at Mercedes here. They're gonna try to go way long stints with those mediums. Maybe try the hards once.
Yeah, they just had to choose one set. They'll probably waste them in practice.
Yeah.
They'll waste them in practice, and that's it. They'll throw them on to warm up the car, make sure there's no sand in Lewis's transmission. And that's it.
Or salt. And we see
or salt flakes.
And this is what we're seeing now, that these teams actually, as much as Pirelli keep changing the compounds from year to year,
and the pressures, don't forget the pressures.
Yeah, and the pressure and all that.
Probably the reason the softer tires are lasting so long this year.
Yeah, these teams have gotten really good at predicting the tires, at modeling the tires. Now, I think that this could still backfire on the likes of Mercedes, because the three stopper, like if they do it, a two-stop strategy.
Yeah.
I guess everybody's gonna have to do a two-stop strategy. But if there's gonna be any safety cars involved, this might actually play into the hands of the Ferrari with that extra set of softs. Especially if the safety car comes like towards like on the second half of the race, which could very well do. I mean, Barcelona is not free of safety cars. There could be some serious accidents there.
It's a very safe track though with some very.
There could be a Kvyat Sainz accident.
Yeah, this track though, it's very well, as we said, very well rounded. Mm-hmm. They have, unless you fly off on the big third corner, there's no super hard braking points. There's no super fast corners. There's no super hard corners. There's no corners that really change their radius at all.
Well, and
it's very safe.
It's a track too that the teams are all too familiar with.
Super familiar with.
Yeah.
Which familiar probably
way does it
for
go?
sure.
This way?
Yeah, to the left, clockwise.
Always?
Yep. That white building on the bottom there is the pit. That's the pit.
Okay. Not always as in all the tracks go clockwise, but this one does.
Right. Okay. Yeah, some tracks are counterclockwise, more lefts than rights.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So to be clockwise, it's just by math, it just has to be more and more rights than lefts. 360 degrees more rights than lefts. Right.
Okay.
At least. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't know. That's pretty much all I got to say about this week, I guess. One more thing I kind of forgot, but it's pertinent to this week. Under the new regulations for the engine thing, going back to the Honda Rosso and the Renault Bull.
Yeah.
Under the new regs for this year, the obligations to supply by this weekend, by May, actually it was last weekend, May 6th, the manufacturers must notify the FIA of their intentions of their teams that they will supply for next year.
Oh, wow.
By May 15th, which is this race weekend, which is the Sunday, I believe.
Yes.
By this Sunday, manufacturers have to notify the FIA of the teams that they will supply.
Jeez.
Last weekend was their intention. This week is the teams that they will supply. And by 2 weeks after that, the weekend of June 1st, the FIA at that point has the right or the power to call upon a manufacturer to oblige them to supply a team if they're not satisfied by this weekend. So we will know this week if we will see a Honda Rosso or a Renault Bull next year, which I'm quite, as I said, I'm pretty certain, I'm quite certain both will. And if not, we'll wait till June 1st, till the start of the summer, and either of those two manufacturers will be forced to supply either of those two teams, probably based on whichever team wants the engine more.
Cool.
But it will happen. Those dates are set. FIA has rules. It's going to happen. No more old ass engines, pieces of shit, with angry Russians powering them. That's it.
And with that, I guess
As long as-
let's take a quick break, and we'll be back.
Yeah, as long as Sauber stays safe as a team, which it would be interesting
What?
if perhaps Red Bull paid Sauber not to participate in this test in hopes that, save this money, put it aside, save it till next year.
Yeah.
Maybe Ferrari, you can tell them by June 1st, maybe we won't drive next year. You can't supply us.
Maybe don't drive next year.
Perhaps Red Bull could coerce the FIA to oblige Ferrari to supply Red Bull with an engine next year. Or perhaps Toro Rosso with a 2016 engine. If Sauber at least appears as though they want to compete in 2017 by June 1st. It's very possible. Very possible.
We'll see how that. We'll be tracking that story and see how that develops.
All right, guys. See you in a bit.
Guys, I have some news.
You have news.
You have news.
Oh shit. Are you pregnant?
No.
Oh,
But what I am is
happy.
30.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I totally forgot.
I joined you guys.
Welcome to the club.
I joined you guys in being 30.
I congratulated him on Sunday. He's
Yeah.
entered his 4th decade. I guess.
Yes. I'm 30. I'm an old guy now or something.
Yeah, old by F1 standards.
Yeah, but way old by F1 standards. But my birthday, like as you pointed out, was. Yeah, it was Sunday. But it was also the anniversary of something else that is great to.
Far more sad.
Yes, far more sad. On May 8th, 1982, possibly one of the greatest Formula One drivers, definitely the greatest Canadian F1 driver
So far.
so far, passed away. His name was Gilles Villeneuve.
Salut, Gilles.
Gilles Villeneuve. Yes, and it's weird because this was he passed away in 82, but his glory days, his career in F1 really only lasted from 77 to 84. So he didn't have a great long career. If you think about the people that even to this day are starting to to be considered the veterans of the sport, they have way over 10 years in F1. And all that, and that's not uncommon today. Like Alonso, all of those guys, like even Lewis has been in the sport for 10 years.
Almost.
Right. So he actually had quite a tragically short F1 career, and I want to just take a minute here to look back and salute the guy that Gilles Villeneuve was, and it's weird because if you try to get into F1 right now, and you start reading about great drivers of the time, there is a name that does pop up quite often, and that is Gilles Villeneuve, and a lot of people, especially the older folk, that have been familiar with the sport, do regard him quite highly. As an example, Jeremy Clarkson of previous Top Gear fame, he said that he was never a Senna fan. He was a Villeneuve fan. Mm-hmm. Like that's a big statement. That means that he thought that Villeneuve was better than Senna.
Right.
And Senna is in many minds number one.
Where is the Circuit de Senna?
Yeah, there is no
Where
circuit.
is the Circuit de Senna?
Yeah, whereas in Canada we have the circuit.
Where was Senna from?
Brazil.
He's Brazilian.
Oh shit.
He's Brazilian.
Ayrton Senna da Silva do Brazil. Yeah.
But you can never forget the Canadian Grand Prix. The circuit is named Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it is the venue of the Canadian Grand Prix, and he raced on it. He actually won his first F1 race in his first year in in his first full season as an F1 driver. He won his first race in Canada in that circuit.
Oh, cool.
To
A French crowd.
thousands of
French Canadian crowd.
of French Canadian fans going wild. No, it was insane. And now, if you from right now, you see names like Gilles Villeneuve pop up in the top 10 list, top 20 drivers ever. To some people, top 5 drivers ever, and they're grouping him with the likes of Michael Schumacher, with the likes of Senna, with the likes of Vettel and Alonso. They're grouping him with that crowd, yet he never won a championship. Actually, if you look at all his stats, he only won 6 Formula 1 races in total.
More than Martin Brundle.
Yeah, more than Brundle. But obviously, these were days long gone when the seasons were a lot shorter.
Yeah.
But his numbers don't actually speak for his genius. And it is true that if you are a fan today and you start, grabbing some interest in the history of F1, you do see the name Gilles Villeneuve pop up here and there. But if you start reading into just reading quick, fast facts of his career, you'd be less than impressed. You'd say he only won 6 races. He was in Ferrari for this many years, and actually when he was at Ferrari with a championship winning car, his teammate was the one that won the championship, not him.
Right.
You see some of the footage, and believe me, I've actually tried to go back enough and see some of the footage from the races. Number one, it's super hard to find things from back then because it was, FOM didn't exist, so all the broadcasting rights were whack. Some races you just can't get in English. So if you were to watch it right now, what you get is what people have done is put the original languages broadcast and then superimpose the English commentary, the radio commentary over it. So it produces some really weird results if you want to go that far back and see some of Villeneuve's races. And obviously, each race that they went to would have focused on the French Grand Prix, like most of the coverages of what the French drivers are doing, right? So anyway, it's hard to go back and really, really experience what Gilles Villeneuve was about. But let me tell you something, and this is, can you maybe kill the sound a little bit and just play this and have it go over the background. And this is something that proves what Gilles was about. Look at him there. After having an accident where his wheel popped off completely. Oh my God. Is something that would have stopped most drivers. And look at him go. He was like, yeah, riding this motherfucker in the race with his front wings
crumpled. The other clip was his back wing was crumpled,
blocking his visibility. He's the only driver out there doing qualifying laps like this.
Oy.
Like this.
And there it goes.
Yeah, there it goes. No front grip at all. And he's like, he kept going. He didn't go into the pits like that. But this is the brilliance. See, you see a lot of this, but he never, ever, when he went on like a big blow like that, he wasn't the kind of guy that took anybody else. Yeah. See, this quote that he's. Oh, by the way, thanks to Auntie Calhola on YouTube for putting this clip out. Is great.
He just jumped out, no seatbelt.
His mentality was, I can't hurt myself. Look at this. That's him over to
rubbing the wall.
Yeah.
The man is more important than the car.
Gilles Villeneuve is the kind of driver that I think it was one of his competitors one time said, I know that humans can't make miracles, but Gilles made you wonder sometimes. Because out of the years that he was in Ferrari, he only for 2 of those years he had a car that was barely competitive, whereas the rest of the time, look at this fight, wheel to wheel, just getting in there, and it's still going. Yeah, Gilles Villeneuve, and you see him in some of these clips attacking a corner and just sliding out.
Yeah,
and this is an era where the cars. We're driving with ground effects, with those skirts. These cars glued more to the track than they do now because of the ground effect. So the fact that Gilles was going around, skidding around, going like this, is because he was thrashing the car. He was giving it the absolute most, and that's why he was so much fun to watch. Gilles Villeneuve is probably responsible for making, especially like the last generation, like the baby boomers, fans of F1. Like especially his effect was obviously not pronounced as much in North America as a whole. In Canada, it was a lot of Europeans though do have a lot of respect for Gilles Villeneuve. It's just
the final quote in that video there was, "Death is part of the job,"
and
that's what he said.
There's another quote here that I like to read that is kind of poignant to today, to today's conundrums that F1 is going to, and I guess it has been, and this is why people say like, oh yeah, F1, it's not the first time that we've gone through like this technical regulation changing and things like that. This is something that Gilles said. He said, "I love motor racing. To me, it's a sport, not a technical exercise. My ideal Formula One car would be something like," and then he like did a car with a big, normally aspirated engine, 800 horsepower, which was a lot back then, 21-inch rear tires. A lot of people say that we should have narrower tires, but I don't agree because you need big tires to slow you down when you spin, and you need a lot of horsepower to unstick big tires to make the car slide. That would be a fantastic spectacle. We could take corners one gear lower than we do now, and we could get the car sideways. You know, people still rave about, and then et cetera, et cetera. But he keeps going. That's the kind of entertainment that I want to give the crowds. I want to smoke the tires. Yeah, I care about the fans because I used to be one of them. I believe that now the crowd is really losing bad. So even back then, he had that mentality that even today, like you still see, like, yes, it should be about the mechanical grip with a big engine, just
big engine, fat tires, wide stance.
Because that's when you see
racing.
That's when you see good racing.
Yeah.
Gilles Villeneuve was also the guy that said he didn't care for Ballester or Ecclestone. Ballester back then was the president of the FIA.
Right.
So he was basically like, I don't give a fuck about Ballester or Ecclestone because people are not coming here to see politicians and manipulators. They came here to see so on and so on, and to see me and to see us race.
Right.
To a lot of people, Gilles Villeneuve was the last guy that like really, really drove it like a Formula One car.
Like he stole it.
Full out.
He drove it like he stole it.
Flat out. In fact.
With a fever?
Yeah, with
perhaps. You think he would have come on this podcast?
Oh yeah, he would have. He would have had a couple beers with us. But it was that kind of genuine person that like really, really, really captured everybody's attention because and everybody's imagination because he came from out of nowhere. His history is that he started racing snowmobiles in Quebec, and now the snowmobile racing, like, yeah, you got to think that it's insane.
Yeah.
And apparently, like back then, like if you like fucked up and like went off the ice, like when these things slid, like or you fell on the side, you have a thing that weighs more than you on you, dragging you across the ice, like sliding super fast. So that's the mistakes in snowmobile racing back then were punishing. So that's why you didn't make any mistakes. And unless you were in first place, if you were catching up to the lead, or if you wanted to like take over the lead, you weren't seeing anything because there was just like a big pile of snow blowing in your face all the time. So that apparently taught him how to drive in the rain, how to drive under poor visibility conditions. And he just had
not care about dying.
Yeah, it came with the job, and like he was, Alain Prost, who won 4 world championships, a big enemy of Senna back in the day. People called him the professor because his driving style was very calculated, and whereas he may not have had the most natural talent, he like studied, and he was the first, maybe the great thinker of how to approach a race. He said that Gilles was the last of the real intuitive natural drivers.
Oh wow.
That he was with him to Nigel Roebuck, who is a big respected journalist. He writes for Motorsport magazine.
Mm-hmm.
He said that when Gilles Villeneuve died, it's as if a whole part of the sport died with him. Like after Gilles, you never saw like drivers in F1 that were there for just the pure joy of driving a car as fast as it could drive.
Right.
Gilles Villeneuve,
cool.
apparently that was just who he was.
Right.
Like he preferred to live in Italy because he could. When he was driving for Ferrari, he lived mostly in Monaco, but he preferred to like drive up and down to Italy because he could just freaking floor his Ferraris.
Yeah.
Like drive like 200 kilometers an hour down the Autostrada, and the carabinieri would pull him over, and then he'd just be like, "Come on, I'm Gilles Villeneuve. Here's an autograph. You want to take a picture? All right." And they let him go. They'll let him go. They're like, "Oh, you're Gilles Villeneuve."
Yeah, go as fast as you want, man.
The championship year that the Ferrari, like when he was in Ferrari, Ferrari did win that one championship. That his teammate Jody Scheckter, he was the one that won it for, complications that happened on the track. It was just due to bad luck. Otherwise, Gilles would have won it. The Tifosi, all of them, like their guy was Villeneuve. It wasn't the guy that won them the championship. It was Villeneuve.
Wow.
For those who forget or don't know, the Tifosi
Yeah.
is the official name if you're a Ferrari fan.
Yeah, that's what they call themselves. The fans of Ferrari are the Tifosi. Yeah.
The Tifosi.
Enzo Ferrari himself, who was notoriously detached from the drivers because he knew that they wouldn't be sticking around, a lot of them. He
also believed that made better negotiations on his side.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
No personal relationship with any of them.
Yeah. But he said that he thought of Villeneuve as a son. As well as
wow.
Yeah, so he's like, I thought
Wow, to say that coming from someone.
Tazio Nuvolari was one of the first stars in Grand Prix racing before F1 existed, before the war. The one big name that Fangio, for example, aspired to be, that Nino Farina, that Ascari, they all looked up to Tazio Nuvolari. I've brought up his name before in the podcast. Tazio Nuvolari was like one of the first like real stars of car racing back in the day.
Oh, cool.
Enzo Ferrari apparently was when he saw Gilles for the first time, he was like, this guy's like Tazio, like this guy, like he has it, like he's star quality, star power. Tragically, his pure passion and love for speed, like he drove the car like
its absolute limit,
and to limits that like people found him scary, like
yeah.
And that's probably why he was so exciting to watch.
Yeah.
But other drivers at first were kind of weary, like saying like, this guy's just
dangerous.
He's gonna kill us and then kill himself. But the point is that he actually, if you see his accidents and the way that he handled the car,
yeah.
Even Niki Lauda was like, this guy, like he's.
Niki Lauda didn't drive at the same time as him, did he?
No, they weren't contemporaries. Like they didn't overlap.
Right.
Yeah, it was before, but Niki Lauda was like, this guy, what he's doing with the car control is insane. It's insanity.
Interestingly, what Niki Lauda said last weekend about Kvyat driving like an asshole.
Yeah.
He said if I were Vettel, I would have got out and kicked the shit out of him. He said something like that. He would have kicked his ass.
Yeah.
He said I would have beat his ass.
Wait, Lauda's with
Mercedes, right?
Yeah.
But he just, Vettel's a German, right?
Yeah.
He's like, listen, if I was Vettel, I would have kicked Kvyat's ass for that.
Yeah.
That crash last weekend. But just to show you his character and what he thought about Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Right, and it's about that character, right?
Yeah.
Because clearly Kvyat was in the wrong in at least one of those situations.
I'm not trying to compare the two though. I don't think Villeneuve was like I'm gonna rush and double tap, show you no mercy.
Yeah. Right.
No, he was just showing himself no mercy.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna fucking show this car no mercy unless it gets me over the finish line.
When it came to other people around him, he was
I don't think he was trying to hurt
No,
anybody.
he was super
Yeah.
aware. And that's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
He actually said like, I can't hurt anybody. I can't hurt myself. He said he even said I can't even hurt myself. What I worry about is that sometimes I know that I'm gonna be able to hurt the car. I'm gonna be able to hurt the car. That's
So there you go.
yeah.
But that's a brilliant mentality to have, especially with all like the recent stuff with all the crashes that sort of happened. Like even from that brief clip we just watched, you could tell that even if it was spinning out, he was still in control to some degree.
And that's the thing. The other drivers, or one of his rivals back in the day when he died, one of his rivals said, "Okay, now we can go back to racing on a plane level," because this guy was just so far ahead
Pushing
of him.
everybody, forcing everybody past their own limits.
Yeah, so he's
Wow.
he's like he was that big. Just a couple quick other things. When he first joined in F1 was because after he was done racing snowmobiles, he knew that he wanted to race. He knew that racing was part of him in his blood. He basically showed up after the snowmobiles. He started racing like little categories, little North American single-seater racing. Back in the day was things like Formula Atlantic don't exist anymore. Pan Am.
Racing on Mosport.
Yeah. Well,
The little Ontario tracks I'm talking about.
But anyway, like,
Mont Tremblant.
to even be able to like afford that, he apparently showed up one time to his house and his wife and said, "Honey, I sold the house. I'm buying a racing car." It was like, you should,
I want to be a race driver. I would never sell my house to buy a race car.
yeah.
That's retarded. Can you sleep in it? Are we going to sleep in there? How intrusive is the roll cage? Is the gas tank in the back seat?
Yeah, so
Oh my god.
so that's the kind of guy he was. So when he was racing for this lower categories, James Hunt, who happened to be in North America at that time, he saw him race in Formula Atlantic and said, like, this guy, like, he's got it. So he was the one that brought him. At that time, James Hunt was racing for McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
He fucking bugged the McLaren to the point that they were like, we gotta get this guy a chance. We gotta get this guy. So they brought him to Europe. They sat him in a McLaren, a third McLaren car that was from the year past. So it was already not a current spec McLaren. Now back in the day, you remember, like, as a team you could just enter people. Like, you could have like four.
You could have 3 or 4 cars. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that underperforming McLaren from last year that got basically put together at the last minute, he managed to split the McLarens. He was just behind.
You guys just between the two. Though.
Between the two McLarens. That was his first showing. Like, that's how quick he was. Then after that that's when he got snapped by Ferrari, and during and immediately that after he won his first Grand Prix. But not only that, remember that clip where it showed him driving on 3 wheels because of the one. Apparently, like, even on 3 wheels, and when he was going like, he was going like almost as fast as he had been on 4 wheels, like, without hardly diminishing the pace.
Oh my god.
And so it's just that's the kind of crazy guy that he was, right? Like, he then went over to get his rest of his race wins, but clearly one of the things that actually pull up this other clip, put Gilles Villeneuve Dijon.
And listen, Jacques. Anyone that knows anything about Jacques Villeneuve, his son.
It's there one. Yeah, there.
No disrespect, but you can get from this story, from these clips, from this legacy, you can get
One of these two.
where Jacques got his attitude, in quotes, from, because a lot of people think he has a bad attitude, but Jacques has proved to be a kick-ass racer his entire life. He's driven
So
NASCAR.
that's Gilles Villeneuve in the red, and that's René Arnoux in the yellow. Now this is a race that went on. These are the last laps of this French Grand Prix in Dijon. it's gone down to history as one of the races that, at least this moment, this fight right now, is Formula One history, like top shelf. And it's not because of who won. This is the battle, and that's what's important about. Remember about Gilles, he is fighting for second place, not first. But even though he's not fighting for the top step of the podium, he's still not living. And now, this guy up here, he's in a Renault that was faster than the Ferrari in this case, because it had a turbocharger. The Ferrari didn't.
Right.
So and he's still there and thereabouts, giving this guy a hard time. And now look at him.
Boom.
Like, he didn't even care about his brakes. Brake as last as he could, and as late as he could, and he keeps going.
Wow.
No, this keeps going on till the very end of this video.
Holy
Just
shit.
trading plays back and forth. But anyway, let's. The point is that's the kind of guy that he was, and that's why so many people that remember the sport from back then, when they're talking about, like, we should go to the golden days, the old days of F1, they're talking about this.
Yeah.
They're talking about the
Straight
mechanical
up
grip.
cars, straight up mechanical. Look how wide. This is what we're gonna see next year. For anyone watching, or for you, Mike, we're gonna see cars that wide with that fat of tires and that big of wings. This is what we're looking at next year.
But
Big fat low cars like this,
but with,
They do look kind of fucking weird,
but
though.
with turbos, turbos and
man.
hybrid power.
banging wheels. Look at this. Anyway, Gilles Villeneuve, definitely still remembered. If you're an F1, a new F1 fan out there,
boom! Holy Jesus!
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Don't worry about raking the runoffs.
No. No, and there he goes. He takes second place again. Look at how close they were racing. After these streets, he comes out he comes out ahead. There he is.
For all the Jacques haters, you see where he gets it, and you can understand. And there's not even he doesn't even need a forgiveness. That's him. He was born with this racing power, man. People think he's an asshole or whatever. I might be biased because I'm a Canadian, but I don't think so. And
Well,
he's never got the accolades that his dad bit. But like I was trying to say, he's doing NASCAR, Indy, Formula One, Le Mans. He's fucking raced everything that you can race, go-kart, every category possible, and he's still out there.
Yeah.
He was at the Chinese Grand Prix.
There he goes. Till the checkered flag, fighting. And that is the spirit that people say that an F1 driver should have. It shouldn't be about conserving tires. It shouldn't be about conserving fuel. It should be about driving flat out every single lap.
Yeah.
Every single lap
Fighting.
should be fighting. Should be this.
Right.
And that's, I think, one of Gilles Villeneuve's strongest legacy that still lives on is that
Right,
there was
that
somebody
passion.
that there was a driver out there that showed everybody that the driver did matter, that it wasn't just about having the best car in the best situation. No,
Right.
that the driver can make a difference, and that's how that's how drivers should drive. Just giving her all the time, pushing until there was no more to push, and even then keep pushing.
Let's make a nice segue now to another to-be great Canadian driver,
Oh yeah, hopefully.
Nicholas Latifi.
We talked about him earlier in the show. So yeah, here's the deal. So he actually just finished testing for Renault, a guy from Toronto with
Toronto.
very little. He had very little in terms of a history in his family of racing or anything. And really, actually,
Right.
to start single seater racing and from karts from an early age in Canada is something that you wouldn't think of.
Right.
Who do you know that goes out that is out there racing, or when you were a kid that was out there racing karts or at a competitive level,
Yeah.
right? Like, people played travel hockey, travel basketball, this and that, but nobody nobody did
Fuck does
racing,
that, yeah.
right?
He's been signed as the official Renault test driver.
Yeah, today after being very competitive in the feeder series, he's also racing in GP2
GP2 this year.
But he now
Big times.
he just completed a test that Renault basically did for their filming days, because each F1 team gets a number of filming days that they're allowed to use previous cars or whatever. But anyway, during one of these filming days, they chose to give the seat to Nicholas Latifi of Toronto, and to complete enough laps
At
in
Silverstone.
at Silverstone. He completed enough laps to meet the minimum requirement, which is 300 kilometers.
He did a bit more than that.
No,
Jay.
he did 400 and something. Yeah.
Yeah, 400 and what? First of all, let's say he was driving the V8, the E20.
Yeah, he was.
Lotus car. So I don't know how this exactly works. Like Renault took over the Lotus team.
So you buy all the
so
property.
you buy all their
Yeah.
previous cars. So
Yeah.
all the Lotus
Yeah.
cars from the whole history.
Well-
Nobody gets the like.
No, not necessarily, because Lotus of all the history wasn't the Enstone team.
All right.
So the Enstone team, whatever
So
was
the
built.
most recent team. So you think as long as they were Lotus is what Renault? did?
No, as long as they were the Enstone team, that
Okay,
Enstone
okay.
team.
So anyways, he did 140 laps in the Model E20 V8
Which was-
2012 Lotus car.
Yeah,
Do you know how many kilometers he did?
450 something.
No, he drove 116 over 300,
So
which is how many?
416.
How many is that?
416.
And what's that?
416.
416. 416 Toronto.
You did a four. You did
Represent the 6, Drake. He's like the Drake of F1, representing the 6.
That is hilarious.
Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, he did exactly 416 kilometers.
But anyway, now he qualifies.
416 is the area code of Toronto. If you
Right,
want
yes.
to, if you want to call me on the phone, if you want to call me on my cell phone, 416.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But he completed the minimum amount of kilometers to be able to be eligible for a super license.
this is true.
which a
300.
super license will allow you to participate in F1 events.
Right.
Or he is
You are allowed to drive an F1 car without a super license as long as it's not at an FIA sanctioned event, a competition. You're not at a practice, testing day, or race. or
well,
qualifying.
and now a lot of people have been saying that, hey, will he be there? Will he drive FP1
Right.
at the
This
Canadian
is was a
Grand
big
Prix?
hope for us Canadians.
Yeah,
But
he
will not.
he will not. Yeah, for all of you Canadian fans, we will not see a Canadian drive an F1 car at the Canadian Grand Prix this year. Unfortunately, he can't get all the paperwork and everything else that he needs in place.
Something interesting.
then-
The Renault team, though, their official reason
Yeah.
was not that. Their official reason is that coming up after that is his first GP2 race
Right.
in Baku.
Yeah.
And they said that got in the way. But it probably is what you said, the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Yeah.
The super license paperwork takes time. They're probably not allowed to talk shit about FIA bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But the season opener for the GP2 season this year is at Baku.
Oh,
Which is right after
no,
Canada.
it's Spain.
No, I think it's Baku.
It's Spain. Oh, is it?
Are you sure? Maybe.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. No, you're right.
Yeah,
Round 3 though. He's got the Baku race right after Canada. You're right.
Yeah.
It's the third round. round.
Yeah.
Yes. This weekend is the first opening GP2. So he will be there. Though.
Well, he'll be there in Spain, like racing GP2. So
He will be racing.
He will probably get interviewed by
Sorry, brain fart.
by the media. But
Yeah,
watch out
Renault's
for him.
official reason though is that he's got to be at the GP2 race. He's got to
Which
get
is
ready.
fair
He's got to
enough.
prep himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, whether or not his paperwork's ready, and Julian Palmer this weekend is giving up his FP1 seat anyways.
But that's the
To
thing, man.
Escoban or whatever what the fuck is his name?
Esteban Ocon.
Ocon, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who cares about that guy?
Well, no. He's actually
know, I'm just
really
like,
good
I know.
too, and he's had a good. I think him and Leclerc really remember how we talked about Leclerc? So
Yeah, I do.
Leclerc, Ocon actually has got a good chance to end up in F1 sooner rather than later. But the deal is that now,
He's got more money behind him, right?
I think he's more marketable too, like because he's a French driver, so a French driver in a French car. But Jolyon Palmer landed his Renault seat now basically because he inherited it, because he already had it from the Lotus days, and it was easy, and he had a contract in place, etc. But
He's good
the
with media.
rumor is that
But-
perhaps Renault is not all too happy with Jolyon's performance right now.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
So they might, and nowhere in his contract basically it says that he has to take part of all the sessions of all the races of this year.
Right.
His contract is kind of weak. So Renault could actually, like, they have the power to replace him mid-season, and it could just be that. It could be, but it could. I'm not saying that it's going to be Nicholas Latifi that's going to replace him if it came to that. But one thing is for sure. Remember when we were talking with Tim Horaney, and he said that by 2018 or on 2018 we could see 2 Canadians on the grid.
Yeah, it's very possible.
We could see Nicholas Latifi and Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll, we've been following too a little bit more peripherally, I guess, and we sort of just gotten into this Latifi groove lately.
Yeah.
For anyone that's listening, we talked to Tim Horaney 3 weeks ago. If you want to go back and check out the interview, he's the TSN correspondent, Canadian TV correspondent.
He's a racing analyst.
He's a racing analyst for the Sports Network of Canada.
Now,
anyways, got some authority in his place.
one last thing, I guess that we could touch on is another like bit of news that's been popping up recently is the changes to the cars in 2017 and the approved changes, because now the changes have been approved. It is going to happen.
Signed off. It's happening for real. The deadline did not pass. It
basically needs to be rubber stamped by the F1 Commission and then approved once again by the World Motorsport Council. It's basically going to happen. And this is what it's going to look like. And this is obviously courtesy of F1 Fanatic. Great site if you're a new F1 fan and you haven't checked them out, check them out yet. Check them out already.
.co.uk, not .com. British. Super British.
Just Google F1 Fanatic. You'll find it. But now, see. So this is a top view of the car. And can you is this on screen?
Grab that bar.
Yeah. So this is... Okay, go show 2016 first. And look at the changes, especially at the back. You're going to see a big change and around the barge boards here. As you start to grab it. Bigger tires, bigger wing.
Bigger floor. Much bigger floor.
Much bigger floor means also the car is going to stick to the ground more.
About the same size inlets for the air.
Look at these
barge boards.
Big ass barge boards.
Huge barge boards there. Yeah. Sticking out. Fatter and... more sticky outy tires slightly.
Yeah. And
a slightly fatter front wing. Still not reaching to the edges of the tires though. Sticking with that philosophy.
But these wider cars, what's going to allow them to do is, well, one of the things is that they're going to look more aggressive. For sure. These cars with the fatter tires and just being wider stands all over is going to look like a more aggressive animal coming at you. The track.
It's 20 centimeters, isn't it?
Yeah.
0.2 meter. 20 centimeters is a lot. Very like Americans, that's like 9 inches, something 8 to 9 inches wider.
Yeah,
it's a lot. That's a lot wider for a car.
Oh, and look at that curve. Yeah.
Yes, this delta, they're calling it the delta thing.
The swoop in the front wing there.
It's basically it's meant for that. It's meant to cosmetically make the car look like a racier car, a faster car.
Aerodynamically, it doesn't do a lot, really.
Yeah, no. But it looks badass. Look at it.
We can see a front and side view slide like this, too.
Yeah. Go down, and then you'll see the next one.
Don't forget, as we talked about for last week, for next year, we're getting a 5% fuel increase as well. So the cars should be faster for more of the race. 5% fuel allocation limit, not a flow limit.
Yeah.
The flow limit, I believe, as far as being agreed so far, will be the same.
Look at the back wing, though.
The back wing's getting much bigger. It's getting wider.
Much wider, but it's taller. It's shorter. No, it's not taller. It's shorter.
Lower.
Look at it. Yeah, it's shorter, but it's swept back a little.
It's swept. It's close to the same surface area, actually, when you really look.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit smaller, but
no, it's just though. Shorter, but shorter and wider.
Yeah, the width makes up for that.
Yeah. Car the rest of the way is gonna stay like kind of the same from the back, but then
the height is the same.
Here we have these huge barge boards again coming up.
Yeah, they get more than twice as big.
Yeah, those are gonna be massive to see. Like they're gonna be ridiculous almost. those silly barge boards. And yes, the wing is gonna stick out a little longer because it's gonna be like that. That's gonna be the swept back part.
Yeah.
And then the front view is actually pretty cool to see as well. Let's bit further down. There it is.
2016 on the left.
So that's today's car.
This is what we see now: the tall, narrow back wing,
And
skinny
im-
tires.
Immediately you start to see the
Skinny
tire
in
pop up.
quotations.
Look at that. The bigger
The
tire.
tires gets way bigger. With the,
Now, are
the
both
inside
the-
stays in the same position.
Both the front and back tires the same size?
No. The back tire is always a little bigger, but
Yeah.
they're still going to be, they're both bigger.
Now as well, they are fatter at the back as well.
Yeah.
But like the front,
Yeah, you see the change of the wing?
the front tires next year are gonna
Yeah.
be close to the back tires this year, like pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the wing there, at the half and half. You can see a big difference in the tire wing, the back wing. The front wing you don't see as much because the proportion is pretty much the same,
Yeah.
but they are wider. The height is the same, and the width of the elements are about the same.
Yeah, look at
But
that.
they
Look, you can see it there.
start further
How much
out.
bigger the side the wing is on the
Right.
side. Yeah.
Right. But the elements themselves, I think, are pretty similar.
Yeah.
The height, width, max height and width.
Now, is this a revolution that people have been waiting for?
No.
It's a devolution, really. It's going backwards. It's more like a mix of the modern approach with the like Villeneuve era
You know what it-
sizes and look, I guess.
You know what it is? It's a band-aid for now.
Yeah,
It's
it's a bandit in a sense.
And
yeah.
it's going to be a band-aid year overall because we know that everything is going to change in
So we
2018.
did say that a lot about this year,
Yeah.
and it's been pretty cool so far.
That's true.
I mean,
It's been pretty cool so far. Yeah, throw a wrench, a monkey.
something.
Monkey in the gears, a wrench in the monkey. What is this saying? One of those.
It's one of the
Throw a
monkey or the
in,
wrench.
Wrench gears.
Something
monkey.
I've sort of been noticing recently, and I think it was from the last race, or like some sort of commentary, was that how long the cars are.
Oh yeah.
And as
Like
soon as someone
from the wing to the back.
yeah, and then as soon as they said that, I looked at the car. I was like, yeah, it's very long. Like you look,
It's like an SUV, like full size.
Yeah.
Full size vehicle.
like looking at all the Gilles stuff that we just saw. Like those are much smaller looking cars.
And
They were as wide as this, like 2 meters wide, but they were shorter. You get more grip that way. So
Right.
You're less likely to swing out the back or lose the front or understeer with a
Right.
shorter car. Yeah. It's totally different. It's just a totally different approach, totally different physics, totally different driving style to the two cars. A lot of people want to go back to the shorter cars, but a lot of the reason they got away with the shortness of them is that the driver's feet were sticking in front of the tires, which is now illegal.
yeah.
Which a lot of drivers lost or broke their legs or were never able to walk or died because of that. Because they stuck their feet out in front of the front tires,
Yeah.
which is not allowed anymore. Which is a big part of the length. The rest, I don't know. That's pretty much the reason. Your feet can't stick in front of the front tires anymore.
Turning is it's the wheelbase. I mean how separated the wheels are from each other does affect the handling of the car.
Yeah,
I mean,
the more square the car is, the more balanced it'll be. Like if you look at a
Right.
go-kart, if you go all the way down to go-karts, they're super wide and short, and a super short. They're like a square. So you get like
And
a
you sit
very
right in the
balanced, and
middle.
you sit right in the middle.
Yeah.
The motor weighs nothing. It's a little like 50cc one cylinder, like a lawnmower engine, basically. Not much bigger, making more power, obviously, but you don't need not cutting grass.
Yeah.
But they're squares. They're flat short squares. That's what gives you the balance. But yeah, we can't go back to that with the modern era because you got to keep your feet behind the front tires, and you need those fat wings sticking out, safety, all that safety, and you have to slow down the car from 300 to 0 with the carbon in front of the tires, basically. If you're gonna run into a wall,
Right.
that's pretty much it. That's why you can't.
That's why they pretty much have to be as long as they are. I guess the cars.
Yeah, because
Otherwise-
the back engine is as back as it can be. Like
If there was no safety involved in that, then you bet your top dollar, Mike, that
the cars would be shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all safety though. Since people lost their legs and lives up into the 90s, it just evolved away from that. And same with modern vehicles. You see the long hoods. Even if you see any modern racing road car that has a back engine, like any of the Ferraris or the Ford GT or the new
They're
NSX,
bigger
any of
cars than
those
they
cars,
used to be.
you have a long nose, even though you can only fit like a knapsack in the front hood.
Yeah.
That's a long nose. It's all just safety, just to protect your legs, and you're walking to walk away from it, crashing it.
Yeah. Shit.
That's pretty much that's all of it. But we're gonna see these badass cars next year.
And who knows what 2018 is gonna bring?
2018. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You don't even know next
2020.
year. They're gonna change their name.
Yeah,
They're gonna
exactly.
change their minds about next year 5 more times
Oh yeah.
before we get there.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Speaking of which, the last topic here, some updates on possible
Right. You had
future
this.
circuits.
Yeah.
We talk about next year's cars a lot. We've been talking about Moscow. So the Russian GP just happened. There's been some, Bernie especially has been sort of hinting we might just throw away the Sochi circuit, just like the Olympic stadiums. Never use it again, just like them, and move to Moscow. And apparently he's been pushing the Moscow Red Square race, like downtown Moscow, somehow get the cars through Red Square, through the city square. He's been pushing that since the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Here, the biggest hit this week, 4 big tracks have come up. Moscow was supposed to host the Formula E race in June 4th, the first week of June.
Yeah.
It's being canceled because of some sort of permits or regulations regarding closing the streets.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't get Formula E, we're not going to see F1 happening. The
Right.
safety, the logistics, the crowds, everything is 10 times what Formula E it could even hope to be at this
right.
point.
At least.
Yeah. Formula E is cool and all, whatever. I'm not putting them down, but Formula E is just that much bigger.
You mean Formula One is much?
Formula One is that much bigger than Formula E. If Formula E is not getting it happen, it's not going to happen. London. Bernie was in the news this week making headlines about London.
Again, journalist extraordinaire Joe Sayward has been calling the thing around London a pipe dream and just something that Bernie's bringing up because he wants to put more pressure on Silverstone.
That's a big part of it. And don't forget, Bernie Ecclestone has been pushing the London Grand Prix since the 70s, as well as Monaco.
It's got like London has like way more rules and way more like ridiculous shit like hoops to like go through than even Moscow would,
But
just to host a race there.
Formula E last year closed out their season in London, in downtown
Well,
London.
they
around
actually
Battersea
did. They
Park.
actually did throughout the year. They did 2 races in London.
They did. Yeah, they did a double header
Yeah.
at around Battersea Park in London, and they had, I believe, parliamentary approval, changed the laws of England that said that streets could be closed for some sort of competition. But
It was around a park though. It would be different.
Yeah, it was around
if
a park.
was F1. You couldn't race F1 cars in that short a circuit. It would have to be like a massive thing. And besides, Bernie wouldn't want to do it around Battersea Park, for example. He wanted like do it right down the Mall and to Buckingham Square or Buckingham Palace.
He's been pushing Hyde Park and Buckingham Palace. For those who don't, Hyde Park is like the central park, the downtown big park,
and actually
Buckingham Palace is the government buildings.
The FOM offices are right around
the park,
right near Hyde Park.
He overlooks the park.
Yeah.
So he said Formula E has worked on the federal stuff. The laws are in place, but there's secondary legislation that must be passed for F1 that would allow a local council to close a road for a high-speed road race.
Yo, we got an interesting question coming on right now. If Raikkonen, Alonso, Button, and Massa retired last year, I think he means next year. If they retire next year, who would take their place? Okay, let's see. So Raikkonen, who would take their place?
It's not Verstappen anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah, it would have to be somebody.
I guess Gutierrez
associated.
But Haas loves
Grosjean.
that guy.
Maybe Grosjean.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Sorry, Grosjean. But yeah, Haas is loving him. They want him to push into NASCAR. They're not letting that guy go.
No,
he's their fucking star now.
Yeah, but Grosjean. But if Grosjean was giving a chance to go to Ferrari, he'll take it, and Ferrari can push their will on Haas. They can at this time. Yeah. So yes. So Raikkonen, if Raikkonen goes, I think it would be either Grosjean or Nico Hulkenberg.
It's got Grosjean.
Yeah, or Grosjean. So
Hulkenberg's not sellable. Grosjean's making some news. He's likable, he's laughing. He's having fun.
Yeah. Who was the next? Alonso. So if Alonso goes, it would be Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah, it's for Van Dorn. He already drove Alonso's car and kicked its ass. He showed the car who's boss.
Absolutely.
And who was the last one?
Yeah,
there?
no, there was somebody else. Was that it? Wasn't that fourth
Button
one?
and Massa.
Oh, okay. Well,
Button also Van Dorn.
Yeah, it would be Van.
Unless they both left at once, then McLaren would. Hum and hop
it would be Van Dorn.
Van Dorn
and then another I would say maybe a Japanese driver to appease Honda.
Yeah, it's possible. See, Honda announced that they'd be willing to supply 2 teams. One of them will be, mark my words, Toro Rosso.
Okay.
The second one, they're not gonna obviously Toro Rosso is Red Bull's feeder team.
Yeah.
They're gonna work on one of the lower teams, give them the engines, and say like, let's work this out. Mm-hmm. You fucking drive our engines, we'll take your drivers when they get really good.
True.
For sure. From McLaren's getting that big. They've been around 20 years now. They can start to get a feeder team. Inside F1. Possibly. There's a hint of that. And for Massa, I don't know if even Williams might have to replace both guys next year or in the year after. It's getting close, man. Like Massa's son can barely even like drive a go-kart yet.
Yeah. If Massa goes, I would like to think it would be Lance Stroll.
Yeah, that's our hope for Canada.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lance Stroll is already like the development driver at Williams. So I think if Massa goes, I would like to hope that they pick Stroll.
That would be for me my dream. Let Massa maybe hold on one more year. Let's Stroll pull out this year, have next year to do some test days and FP1s, and then bring him in after one more year.
Yeah, why not?
And then I don't know who Bottas is proving himself, so let him keep proving himself.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going on that. Let's keep going on that note. So who else is old and like in danger of retiring? All right, Jolyon Palmer. If Jolyon Palmer goes, then
he's got a career as a commentator, probably. Yeah, maybe.
Then it would be Ocon that would take his seat more readily than Latifi. But if Kevin Magnussen keeps overperforming and keeps doing a good job at Renault, he's not going to stick at Renault for too long. So I think that would be Latifi's chance if Magnussen eventually goes to a different team as a solid number 2. Let's say like he definitely has a future in a top team as a solid number 2. Like
he's got a personal sponsor locked from his home country. So he's got money behind him.
Yeah.
And
Jack Jones or whatever.
He's got a country behind him as well.
Oh yeah.
Whereas some drivers don't. Their countries are either too big or too many drivers from there.
Who else is starting to look old and or that they couldn't last in F1 for too long?
That's close to it. Really, there's the grid's fairly young, man.
If for
Raikkonen,
some reason, no, we already covered Raikkonen.
I think that's it, man.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, if Vettel for some reason has a freak accident and loses his legs, then the Ferrari driver academy is looking thin. They don't have a lot of feeders. Right now that could take that place. I guess we mentioned Leclerc, but I think Leclerc has more chances of making it into one of the Ferrari minion teams like Haas, for example, or Sauber even, but I think more Haas than Sauber. So that would be the trade.
Man. You can't, that would be the trade. Nobody just comes into F1 to Ferrari or Mercedes.
That would be the trade that I could see happen. If Raikkonen leaves, I think Grosjean would go to Ferrari and Leclerc might go into Haas.
Into Haas, yeah.
Or an American, I guess.
Those are reasonable shuffles. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe Rossi.
But geez, Rossi.
There's a chance for him to come back.
Yeah, maybe. Or Latifi.
The door is open. He's got some experience.
Yeah. So
let's going back to the U.S. The Vegas Grand Prix. It seems like from headlines this past week, it's not happening.
What, Vegas?
Vegas
was also I don't think it was serious.
Yeah, I think it probably was serious because that's the attitude in Vegas. Is everyone's got a huge ego, like I can win this. This is mine. I fucking put down, spin the wheel, man, spin that wheel.
But
that's the type of attitude that people that are attracted to Vegas
there has
have,
been
right?
there have been races in Vegas before.
There's been
but
races
not,
there, and there's
the way,
just the attitude of ego and I can do this.
Yeah,
I can win. But, anyways, Ecclestone's his quote is that they want the race there.
Yeah.
But the city doesn't want it on the strip, and he wants the race on the strip because the big thing for selling a race, especially nowadays, is that you recognize the city. They're flying helicopters through downtown and all kinds of shit when you see the opening show. Ecclestone wants the circuit.
Oh, it has to be a big show. On
the strip.
It has to be a big show.
Has to be on the strip.
It has to be a big show because, like, I mean, Vegas is just the strip and that's it, right? So it would have to be down the strip to look spectacular, to look F1 level spectacular. Right now, the race on the race in Singapore goes right through the downtown of the city, and it looks
and it goes through the ports, both.
Yeah.
You go through the ports and downtown,
and it looks beautiful. So they want to, and I guess so does. The race in Monaco. I guess the model for a city race would have to be something like that. Something that
Baku, Monaco.
Yeah, right. Something that cuts through the heart of town, so you can like show the city, like you said. So you can
Red
show
Square, Moscow, London. The idea we gotta get this past the Parliament buildings and the big park.
Now,
but it's
do I disagree with that? Absolutely not. I think that is how it should be. Is it a bit weird because most cities obviously are not designed for cars to be raced around them? Yeah. Would it be challenging to make a racetrack around the downtown of London, Vegas, you name it, that would be exciting enough for the drivers and the spectators? Yes, that is the biggest challenge. But if it can be done,
it's possible.
If it can be done, it should definitely be looked into. Right. Not what Bernie's doing, which is bringing these options up as bargaining chips.
Yeah, it's probably in the end of the day, if they could have put it together, they would have raced it. Bernie wants 1 or 2 more American races. Remember we had last year, we looked at San Francisco, fell through. New York, in his quote talking about Vegas, he said, don't worry, we want another race, there's other contenders, but it looks like we missed out on New York and San Francisco and Vegas. It's not happening on the strip. Monza, to finish off, still up and down, back and forth. As far as I know, the second longest running Formula One race is at Monza. And he threw out the same quote as when we talked about this at the start of the season, is that F1, the FOM, the FIA has been looking at Imola. Mm-hmm. But don't forget, this is Bernie's quote, not mine. Yeah. Don't forget, Imola is owned and run by Italians, so we'll find out on the last day. That's what he said. But if you look at Monza, man, they've run the Grand Prix there about 85 times, and it's been running since the start of Formula One officially in 1950. Yes. But I do believe that Monaco is longer running consecutively. Right. Consecutive.
Because they've been
They've never stopped. Yeah. There have been 85 Monza Grand Prix as well, but Monaco's been broken up in between.
What on earth happened to a New Jersey race? That's a question from Black Inferno 99. Thanks for asking.
Black Inferno 99 would be best for you, I think, if you went back to the clip that we have from a few months ago. If you search through our YouTube, we had like an onboard. We got a video of the street view of how the circuit would have been. It's a badass circuit.
It is a shame that it's not even on the table anymore.
It was fucking badass, man. Wicked corners, lots of swooping corners.
For a street race,
the overlook,
that would have been amazing.
The elevation was bigger than Baku.
We were even talking about going like our plan was like, we have to go there if it happens.
I would have been there. I would have fucking been there. We did a Google Street View type thing of going around that circuit. Yeah, you can look that up. That's my best suggestion to you.
No, but whatever happened to it is his question.
Patting on back too much, I think we did one of the best breakdowns of that circuit that could have been, aside from it happening.
Yeah. Well, but whatever did happen is that Bernie started asking for too much money, and they couldn't come up with the money together. What's the other question?
All these circuits,
there's more. That was not the only question. Who will leave first, Hamilton or Rosberg? Rosberg.
He's got a baby and
Yeah.
one of his eyes is fucked up.
Yeah, no,
his
he's not.
left eye.
You
Look
mean
at
his
left
evil eye?
His evil eye. It's his robot eye. It's fucked up. He's never gonna lose his periphery in it.
All right.
But it'll start shooting lasers and he'll get disqualified. He'll just go play with his baby. He'll be allowed to do.
And
He'll be forced to.
where will Carlos Sainz be in 5 years with in 5 years? So where will Carlos Sainz be in 5 years?
Probably on the pit wall.
Carlos Sainz?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, no, he's got a lot of
He's
he's got a lot of strength. But in 5 years, Alonso will be gone, so he'll be the only Spanish, or he might be the best.
got that going for him.
Well, he might be the best Spanish driver, and F1 I don't think is gonna disappear off the Spanish radar. They have a following now, thanks to Alonso for sure. But I think that
I'm
in
not being
5 years,
anti-Spanish, but I don't
No.
think he's good enough to be sticking around as a driver in 5 years.
I think he might just be like a good number 2, right? Like he might end up like in Ferrari.
A good enough number 2.
Yeah, he could be a good enough number 2 for teams that like that sort of stuff. For teams that like a good obedient number 2. So maybe I think that
He might
not
be
not,
racing,
not necessarily where he will be, but I think that the best that he can aspire for in 5 years is to be Ferrari number 2. What was the other question?
I think that was it.
That was
No,
it.
no,
No,
it was-
sorry. Alexander Rossi returned to F1.
Will he return to F1?
That's what I said. He's the highest prospecting American
For now.
at least. But fortunately for us, at least,
Yeah.
there are 2 higher prospecting Canadians
Yeah.
who are younger, less F1 explicit experience, but better experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just talked about. We don't need to talk about it again.
Will do I believe that Rossi will actually make it to F1?
No.
It's
If he was that
I
good,
don't think
Haas
so.
would have picked him
Yeah.
up, man. Haas would throw him
He's,
in. And
he's getting older
cross-promote him
now,
with
or
NASCAR.
older to make his full F1 debut.
Yeah, he's like 32,
I don't
33.
think-
He's too old.
I
He's gotta be
honestly,
mid-20s.
sincerely don't think that he will.
He
He
won't- he
might
won't be
be
back.
the best American prospect, but he won't make it to.
He might work for Haas, and if he'll probably race lower categories, do what he can, kick ass in them, and then work his way work for F1 for Haas or something,
Or
like,
as
in a team
as part
level.
of like the North American broadcasting team, whatever that might be, like NBC or whatever.
I don't know. I've never seen him on television, but he could probably work as management, something like that, for a team.
Yeah.
F1, that type of stuff.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. That's where I'd see him. That's all I got for this week, anyway.
Yeah.
And for those races, hopefully Monza keeps happening. I think it will. I think they'll fight through. Imola's another bargaining chip, but Moscow, London, Vegas, you're not going to see those soon. We're not going to see New Jersey. It's just Bernie spinning webs of bullshit. It won't happen.
All right, DJ.
Oh yeah, here
That's
we
it.
go.
That's it. Enjoy the race, everyone. Come out.
Yeah, come to
Torontonians,
Betty's.
come out on hang out on Betty's on Sunday. We'll be showing the race at 3 p.m.
No, 3 p.m. is pre-show.
3
4 p.m.
pre-show,
is the shit.
3 p.m. Come hang out. Anyways, we can talk shit. Guess
That's what you
who's gonna
normally
win the
do.
race. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Half price wings, half price nachos, bone shakers on tap,
Yeah, so many beers on tap.
All of them.
All the beers.
cask beers, Betty's itself,
All right,
renamed.
I think we're
Slog.
good to go.
Place out.
There we go. Listen to Babu.com. Whoa.
We trying to listen to that bamboo.
.com.
I don't know what happened. My computer just took a
Oh, there we go.
giant dump.
He's just daydreaming. Mike's got HTC Vive arrived in the mail today.
Yeah, so I've just
everyone-
been thinking about it all
Super
fucking
excited.
day. All right, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Have a great
Peace out.
weekend.
See you next
See you
week.
next week or Sunday, possibly Sunday. Or come out Sunday. Drive up from America, American.